the Hidden Pearls podcast. We are coming to you from La Paz, Mexico. I think this might be one of my new favorite places. I love it so much. But it is a little chilly tonight, so we're kind of bundled up. We did our interviews up here, and it's gorgeous, so I'm excited for y'all to see that. But we have a lot to get into tonight, so let's roll right into it. I'm still on my Britney Spears mic. But with that, tonight on the show, or today whenever you watch this, we have on Fred Warner, who is up for Pro Bowl. So please go make sure that you vote for Fred. Vote for Fred. Vote for all the other 49ers. Wish we could still vote for George. Georgie's on. And then we have an organization called 100 Black Men that the 49ers actually just gave a lot of money to. So that's how we found out about them. But we have on Daryl Richardson and Josiah Harris, and their interview is outstanding. So thank you for sticking around. The questions are great. This episode is super fun, so I'm very excited to share that with you. So with that, we're going to roll right into the quote corner. And the first one is, I am because we are because I am, may the circle be unbroken. And that is an African leadership quote retold by Josiah Harris, and you're going to hear him talk about that later. It was also on our social media this week. But I am because we are because I am, may the circle be unbroken. And the second quote is, there's not one extra person in the world. We all matter. We all have genius within us waiting to be developed. We all have the power to do something that will lift the world in our own original way, by Robin Sharma. So there's not one extra person in the world. We all matter. We all have genius within us waiting to be developed. We all have the power to do something that will lift up the world in our own original way. So with that, we are right into the Mindful Minute. And with the Mindful Minute this week, we are on Compassionate Heart. It's the perfect one. So, BK, Brittany Mike.
Brittany Mike. Thank you, Brittany. Haven't seen much of her lately. So, anyway.
All over the internet.
All over the internet. Okay. So, Compassionate Heart, and again, we're kind of going backwards through these. Again, they're not linear, but circular. But so, thinking about the quotes that we just read. So, Compassionate Heart is the melding and release of our own ego as we realize and connect to the vast universe around us and all the other people in this world. It is a recognition that we are connected to each other in a mutually dependent way that requires us to look out for each other, to care for each other, and to invest in each other's advancement. We never truly stand alone, and our very existence is connected to the existence and the well-being of the other. The better off our brothers and sisters do, the better each of us ultimately do as well. So the quote that Josiah Harris, a recent high school graduate and now in his first year of college, talked to us about, the I am is true because the we exist, and the we exist because the individual I am in each of us. It takes all of the individuals within us to make the we, and it takes the we to hold up and to support the I am. This creates the connected circle of interdependence. In this mutuality, each of us bring to the circle our own genius. We each have it in our own unique way. It is simply a matter of finding it and then encouraging it in each of us. And just a shout out and affirmation that if anybody's told you that you're not a genius or you don't believe you are, they're lying to you. It is a simple matter. And when we talk about hidden pearls, whoever's listening to this show right now, you are a hidden pearl. And believe that, and it's just a matter of searching through and finding the area of expertise and genius that lies within. As the old fable goes, if you tell a lion cub who's living with sheep that it is a sheep, it will believe that it is a sheep. And it will spend its entire life eating grass and being a sheep. And we'll ask, when we look at it, what is wrong with that lion? But once that lion cub sees its reflection and the lion cub learns who it actually is, it will become a lion, and it will think like a lion, and it will act like a lion. And in that, we will see its beauty, and we will recognize the genius in that lion in its own unique way. So too for each of us as we find our way in this world. We discover who we are, and we learn to celebrate the genius within us and each other. It is the compassionate heart then within each of us that allows this connection, the discovery of the genius within, and the support and the encouragement of the development of the genius of each other. Let's talk about an action step for this week, shall we?
Also on that story, but I also love the story of the eagle who grows up with chickens, because just picturing something that is so powerful and can has the ability to fly that doesn't know it can fly, that's
Same thing.
That's big. All right, so our action step this week is to seek out your own genius and celebrate it. Find ways to express it and give aid to the world. As you do, look for the genius in others. Help them find it, encourage it, and help it grow. And then celebrate being genius together in each of your own unique and beautiful ways. May the circle be unbroken. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, so microphone definitely died. But we just want to say thank you so much. This episode means so much to us. They all do, but we just recording here and being together and traveling and doing this and being able to create this show on the go has meant so much to us, and we love this show so much because of what it is doing to help organizations, but also because of the community of all of you that it is putting us in contact with. So thank you for making it a possibility. Thank you for supporting our cause, and thank you for listening and watching.
And for being a genius.
So go share it. Okay, so with that, let's toss it right over to Fred and George. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Ready?
Nice.
Lane,
Just didn't feel right not drinking a Corona. We might need another refreshment.
And we are 3, 2, 1, action!
All right, welcome everybody to episode 12. We are super excited to have on with us the one and only GK, and then none other than Pro Bowl Fred. Hey, get your votes in.
Yeah.
Please vote. Please vote.
All right,
Hashtag
Fred.
Pro Bowl vote at Fred Warner. Do it.
Hashtag.
Retweet, unretweet, retweet, hashtag, unhashtag, hashtag again.
We should put a link in the.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
and I'll
thank
put a
you.
link to vote for Fred in our show notes. So if you guys,
Oh,
need
you guys
help,
are too kind.
Make
Yeah,
sure
we
to do
should.
that.
That'd be good.
Please.
Make sure you
Please.
vote for all the 49ers.
Absolutely, yeah.
True. And
Yep.
Fred.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Thank
well,
you.
welcome.
Especially.
We are very
And George.
thankful. Yeah,
You can't vote for me.
Jan is so saucy that you're not up for Pro Bowl this year. Like, I'm not even voting, but she's gonna vote for Fred.
Thank you.
Well, okay, so
I'm hot,
what
George.
has-
Not on either.
Control what you can control, Fred, right?
That's
All
right.
right. Anyway, so what has been a crazy year already has turned into quite the crazy week for the Niners. So thank you guys for setting aside some time in your swaggy hotel rooms down in Arizona. We're very, very excited, and we're going to get into that in a second. But Fred Warner played college ball at BYU, was drafted by the Niners in the third round of the 2018 NFL draft. He is listed at 6'3", 230 pounds. Grew up just north of San Diego area. Were you a Bolts fan?
I was not, unfortunately. I was a fan of the Chargers, but my team was the Cowboys, unfortunately. It was my dad's team. Now, obviously, I hate the Cowboys being I'm a Niner, so that's how it kind of played out.
Understandable. Well, so why did you go to BYU? And just a little shout out to our girl, Erin Alvey. You knew Erin, right?
Yeah, George has talked about her. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't really know each other, but I had seen her around. BYU was one of my first offers. I went out there and visited it, the campus. It was beautiful. My mom pushed it hard. She knew it would be a safe environment for me, so ended up committing early, and then the rest was kind of history.
So there's an online story about some big BYU fans that watched you play in high school. Do you know who they were? They said they were friends of your family or something. Do you know anything about that? And they sent tape. They got tape from your high school, sent it out to the coaches at BYU.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, Brad Corbett.
Okay.
Brad Corbett, 100% true story. 100% true story. He was. We were in the same church, and he saw that I had a little bit of skills in high school, and I gave him my tape. He, I guess, had some connections with BYU, sent it out to them, and that's kind of how I got on the radar. So yeah, Brad Corbett.
Cool. Attaboy, Brad.
Right.
Attaboy, that worked out. Well, so
Yes,
I want to toss it back over to your mom again. So your mom, Laura, we've met her at the games. Incredibly sweet woman. Every time we talk to her, I love her. But you have a quote that says, Warner credits his mother, Laura, as the #1 influence in his life. He notes that his mother raised him and his siblings all by herself while making sacrifices along the way. She taught us all about hard work. So can you tell us a little bit about your mom's influence in your life and your role in her family?
Oh, man, where do I begin? She is a saint. She's done it all by herself. We were, there was 3 kids, and she was the one who had to take care of all of us. She worked her butt off and made sure she provided, obviously put food on the table and kept the roof over our heads. So, I owe everything to her and the way that she instilled in us, just like I said, hard work, humility, just making sure you're being kind to others. And, it's just set me up to be the man that I am today. Set me up to be the man. Got it all from her.
She's a very wonderful lady, and not that we can actually see her, but we're going to be in the same stadium with her hopefully on Monday. So I'll wave at her. Okay, so 5 siblings now, right?
Yes, 5
where
now.
Are you? Where are you in the ranking?
6. Yeah, 5 siblings, 6 of us. Yeah, I had to think that one over a little bit.
6 kids altogether.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And which are you? How are you?
That wasn't a trick question. That we're not trying to.
I had to make sure I wasn't leaving one out or nothing.
What number are you?
I'm number 1. Number 1, the oldest.
Wow.
Take care of all the other ones. That's why I'm so wise and mature. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm number 1 too. Right, Georgie? Right, Georgie?
Yeah, sure. Allegedly. Allegedly. It's up for debate.
No, it's in stone. Okay, you're number 2, and you always be number 2.
Of the 6, how many boys and girls? What's the makeup?
Wow.
So we got 4 boys, 5 boys, 1 girl.
Okay.
Are you okay? I have 1 sister.
Wow, that makes it pretty easy, doesn't it?
It is. It's really easy.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's awesome.
I know. Thank you. Thank you.
And then how many of the other brothers played football? I know Tony, right, at BYU. And then is there?
Yeah,
others?
Troy, my little brother. He's at BYU right now. Yeah, he's at BYU right now. He's he's in his last season right now. Hopefully, he get a little shot at the league coming up, balling out. And my other 3 brothers, they're all little. So 2 of them are twins. I think they're about 2 years old. And the other one, Marcus, he's about 7. So 7
can
or
you
8.
talk a little bit about, because obviously you were very surrounded by women. How has that had an influence on your life? And do you feel like it's, kind of shaped you to be the man that you are today?
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about just like with my mom, and then my grandma had a huge influence on me as well. She lived right next door to us. We lived in a mobile home complex, and hers was right next to ours. And she was the one who always was cooking us meals and, having dinner on the table. So these are the women that just are the ones who molded me and my brother and my sister into who we are today. And so I can't even say enough about them and what they mean to me.
Well, Fred, there's also, so just reading through some of your stuff, you did the Cause for Cleats with, I think it was called the Cancer Care Point. And apparently at some point your grandma ended up diagnosed with breast cancer, if I got it right.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe she ended up passing on because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you work with cancer organizations still, or, I mean, I know that's got to be near and dear to your heart in that way.
No, that was something that was really special last year, doing that for her. My grandmother, we called her Ma, and that was my dad's mother. I have very little memory of her just because I was so young when she did pass away. But just hearing stories from my mom and from my dad about how caring of a woman she was, and she was tough too. She was a tough lady, and I'm blessed to have had her in my life, just the care that she had for me and my siblings. So I thought that would have been something special to do for the My Cause, My Cleats last year, was to honor her and do that for my father as well.
And tossing this over to George a little bit. So our paternal grandmother, Phyllis, ended up passing away from cancer too. And how long has it been?
11 years.
11 years. So Pop's mom. George, why don't you tell the fans a little bit about Phyllis?
Phyllis. Whoo, Grandma Phyllis. That's where the ginger beard comes from.
Saucy lady.
Yeah. She was awesome. Honestly, she was like one of the best possible. Like, she was made to be a grandma. She really was. Like, my favorite memories of her, or my grandpa, her husband, he is very stingy. When he doesn't spend his money on anything, he saves all of his money. And my grandma Phyllis would always, at all times, slip me and Emma like $20 bills, $50 bills. And she's like, hey, just go get whatever you want. And she thought she was super sneaky with it, but she never was. But she was just such a kind woman, and all she wanted to do was hang out with me and Emma. She just wanted to be our grandma. So every day you felt her love. Also, my grandma and grandpa, they took us on road trips across the country. Like I visited every state of the west of the Mississippi except Alaska before the age of probably like 10. So that was a pretty cool experience. We went everywhere, Grand Canyon. I mean, the whole shebang. So that was always really fun. Always went to Colorado, but my grandma was incredible. So losing her that sucked. We definitely miss her, but it is what it is. And we live our lives for her sometimes.
Phyllis.
She was the best. But yeah, the ginger comes from
Cancer
her.
sucks. Yeah, cancer sucks.
Love it.
So feel
Cancer
that. Love that you
suck,
use that on your cleats. Are you doing that for your My Cause My Cleats this year?
I'm doing actually a rare disease foundation this year for my little brother. On my dad's side, he's my half brother. That's the twins I was talking about earlier. He has what's called Krieger syndrome. It's very rare. It's something to do with having I think either an extra or a loss of a chromosome. I can't remember, but just something I wanted to do just because obviously that's my little brother and I thought it would be special to do for him. So I'll be posting about that on social media here soon.
Absolutely. I love the My Cause My Cleats games. Okay.
It is pretty cool.
Let's get into y'all's relationship. So where and when and how did you and Georgie first meet?
Yes, Fred, how did we meet?
Man, probably at the 49ers to be, that's probably the safe answer. You know what? This is a good story. This is a good icebreaker. So I remember coming in and I obviously had no idea who George Kittle was. He's going into his second year. This was before he kind of blew up on the scene, right? And he came in, he was swole. He had a good little off season. I'm coming in as a rookie in OTAs, so I didn't really know who he was. But I mean, he looked the part. And George probably doesn't know this because I haven't said it, but then we get into OTAs and I think I had one of my first reps in coverage was against George in man coverage. And he diced me up.
You're talking about the special route?
Correct. He diced me up and I had to grab him. I had to grab him and swing him around and I think low-key got kind of mad over it too, because he's like, who the heck is this rookie, like kind of PIing me in practice, but whatever, I still covered him. So yeah, that was kind of my first little interaction with him.
You held him to cover him.
Correct.
That's not covering, that's holding.
Well, there's
right.
no flags.
Be real about
it. In practice, there's no refs, so you kind of get away with a little
so then
tug right here.
You can do things in practice that you really can't do in a game, and so you don't really get better because you do shit in practice that you can't do in a game.
No.
So you're actually cheating the game.
Bruce. No, he does it in the game too. He's just really good at it because he practices it all the time. Doesn't get called.
I wouldn't say all that, but going against a guy like George makes it pretty easy to go against guys in the game. So I'll say that.
All right, and Georgie, what is your version of the story?
Well, actually, I do remember that. Rep, but there's another special route. I'm pretty sure it was either your first or second day. I did a special route, and you dropped way too vertical, and I just went right over top of you, and I caught a ball, and I just heard because it was funny because I watched the film. I'm pretty sure I sent it to my dad. Hey, look at this idiot rookie trying to cover me.
I remember both of those. I remember both.
I know, but
unbelievable.
No, but I just remember watching the film, and I think on the tape you can see you're pissed off, but then you go back to your spot and you redo the rep after you did it, and I was like, that's pretty sick for a rookie linebacker. And then literally 4 days later, Fred's making all types of plays, and you could tell he was going to be our guy for the rest of the season. So that was pretty fun to see. But yeah, me and Fred have a very fun relationship. It's very unique.
It's fantastic. Yes, absolutely.
Well, so on that, you two are both kind of known as personalities of the 49ers. Have you always been that way? Did you have that kind of sense at BYU and in high school, or do you feel like with George, we talk a lot about how he has, since stepping into the Niners, just blossomed and kind of grown into the man that he is because he feels so free and so confident and so just able to be himself. I mean, George is flexing hard right now.
Unbelievable.
Can you speak on that at all you?
He's coming fresh out of an arm workout. Don't think no, stop it.
Front squat today, baby.
Georgie, actually, that's not going to get picked up because you didn't say anything. So the fans aren't going to see your guns.
Wait.
Oh, nope.
You have to talk about clicks.
I'm talking. So that's why they're still not going to see you. But yeah, I think that is actually, I think you hit it on the head. I think I've kind of, been with the 49ers, that's allowed me to kind of show some of that, like you said, that personality. George, I love you. And I think that like you said, I've grown as a person, as a player. I've grown in all different types of ways. And so being around George for sure brings the best out of me in terms of personality. I could say that. And there's not much else to say. George is for sure much more of a personality than me. I'll say that. He's as high as it gets. He's as when you talk about personality, he's right here on the scale of personalities. I'm kind of sitting around in this area.
Oh, dude, shut up. You are a personality. Don't even relax.
Oh.
I mean, if people saw you every single day at practice, that's quite a personality.
Okay, yeah. Me at practice is for sure much different from me walking around. I'll say that. Yeah.
I know, but you've also
you should have seen it today. You should have seen it today. Actually, it was the defense was going in on the offense, and I was acting a fool. I'm not gonna lie. So
good for you.
That was fun. Yeah, thank you.
It's actually funny. Every tight end I talk to, if I ever, because there's multiple times where like you've covered them and stuff, and all of them say you talk so much shit during a game, and you just say outrageous things sometimes. Like you just talk the talk sometimes. And
no, not at all. Not at all. I probably say opposite.
Yeah, okay.
I'm very mild mannered during a game. I'm very quiet.
Okay, yeah.
Just quiet and just humble and just
quiet. Meek is probably a good word to describe it.
Meek. Okay, right.
Yeah,
right.
meek. Humble.
George, you gotta say something. You gotta say something.
The Fred Warner trot. There it is, right there. Dog. Climb on that horse and ride that baby. Come on, man.
Go ahead. Show
where are we at?
George.
Yeah, where are we at?
There it is. Yeah, there. Oh, and there he goes. Nice.
I'm done for the day.
That's the one.
I'm done.
Did you
That's all I had.
talk smack at BYU? I feel like that would not have been acceptable.
Yeah, it was in there, but it wasn't at the level that it is right now. Probably, I could attribute a lot of the trash talk and the swag and the energy to Quan Alexander. He came in and brought something out of me that I hadn't brought out of myself yet, and so I owe him a lot to kind of making me into the player that I am today. Obviously, I had to put in the work, but he was a huge part of kind of like getting me out of my shell. And so that's,
have you
that's
thought
huge.
about dyeing your hair red or like red on the tips, like even one of them for Quan?
I haven't thought about that, but
Fred, I will if you do. I will
really?
if you do it. Yeah, I do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Will you shake on it?
Yeah, of course.
You'll shake. Okay, let's do it. I'll do one. I'll do one dread.
Hey, Fred, fist
ready?
Bump. No, you can't.
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Red tips.
Thank you.
I like it.
Red tips. Wow.
Hey,
just one dread, and he has to do one strand of, or not one. Yeah, get a little.
He's
like
gonna do a clump.
Yeah,
a little clump.
We'll do a clump.
It'll be
hair.
like your Jedi tail, Georgie.
Fred, I just want to pick up that thing on Quan because I think in the development of players, right? Because George had this. When he first got there, we talked about Garrett Selleck, and there were some guys in the room that have helped him. He's had a great position coach. So having a guy like Quan around. So one of the things we were going to talk about is kind of who are some of your favorite sports people or characters in the game, and really kind of football if you want to. But just back on Quan, what is it about a guy like that that helps somebody step in? Because one of the things that seems really consistent with the Niners and the culture that John Lynch and Shanahan had put together is that guys come in and a lot of people really do flourish, and they find their personalities, and there's a lot of freedom to do that as long as you're working within the rest of the system. But maybe just say a word about Quan and how older guys, working with a younger player can really help that advancement in that way. Because I think that's a really unique thing, and it's a really special thing.
It is really special. And Quan, I think I think it all started actually my first year. Quan came into my second year, right? And I think my first year having Malcolm Smith on the team, he was Super Bowl MVP. He was the guy who was going to be the Mike linebacker that year. I was third string behind him and Brock Coyle. And then Malcolm went down with an injury during training camp. So then Brock was the guy who was going to be the starter at Mike, but then our starter Ruben was suspended for the first couple games, so they moved Brock to the other linebacker position, and then I came in and became the starting Mike, right? And it would have been so easy for Malcolm to just be like, you know what, this rookie, he thinks he's this, he's that, he's trying to take my spot. I'm not gonna help him. I'm gonna hope for that he just kind of screws it up and I get my spot back. But he literally took me under his wing. He never said a foul word or ever had ill intent about anything. I still talk to him to this day. Like, he's my brother. And the things that he was able to teach me, obviously being a vet in the game, and the way that he was just such a pro allowed me to kind of learn things and accelerate that really early. And so then moving on to my second year, Quan comes in. He's completely opposite of Malcolm. Well, not opposite, but completely different personality. Different from Malcolm, where he comes in, he's got this swag about him. His energy is through the roof at all times.
It's legendary. It's legendary.
Always talking
Fred.
about, you ask him how he is, he's always going to say legendary. He's never going to say the G word, which is good. And, so kind of just
wow.
him just kind of rubbing off
funny.
on me. And I didn't really feel pressure to like be like Quan, but like, it just allowed me to kind of just be more myself, and just kind of, like I said, get out of that shell a little bit, kind of have a little bit more of that swag when I was on the field. And so having him out there accelerated that process tenfold. So I'm extremely grateful for guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, Fred, I agree. Like, Malcolm is an incredible human being. That dude's amazing. Because my rookie year, he kind of set the standard too, because he was a guy that because it was his first time with us, whether it was OTAs or training camp before he got hurt. He was in every meeting possible. Like, he was a guy, he was not on any special teams. He was at every single special teams meeting. Like, he was always there, and he was always talking to guys. That's what I loved about him. He was so personable, and he definitely took the scariness, I guess, out of the NFL as a rookie, where it's like, it seemed all big and, superstars and stuff. He was like, dude, it's like, just chill, like, just play your ball. Like, he was very good at, that's why, like, Selleck and him are very similar to me. Like, they were both very even keel, kind, went out of their way to help you. And Quan in the same way, like, he let everybody kind of flourish. That's just kind of, that's who he is. Like, he is a guy that he brings that energy out of you, whether you got it or you don't. And like, especially being an opposite guy that has to go against him. Like, if I don't match his energy, which is through the roof, I'm going to get my ass kicked. And so it's always awesome. Like, when you have someone like that to compete with, which is also why you and me play against each other most of the time. And I route you up.
Back in the day.
I feel like this is such a great reminder for how important it is to be yourself and to bring the type of energy that feels authentic to you, because like you guys are saying, I mean, Quan Alexander is one of the most authentic people I have never seen anybody like Quan. And, I have never had a conversation with him, but just even watching his level of play and watching him on TV, and very sad that he is not with us anymore. But yeah, I mean, just another plug to stay authentic and to never play yourself down.
I mean, it's also, go for Pops. I was going to say, it's also like, fuck me. You go first. You go.
George, you go.
Okay. I was going to say, it's like, because you said, be yourself, but also surround yourself with people that allow you to be yourself. Because what Bruce always says, what I've heard since I was probably 4 years old, is friends are like elevators. They're either bringing you up or they're pulling you down. And make sure you aren't with people that are pulling you down, and all they do is elevate you. Because when you can be yourself, then you can be the best at whatever you want to do, whether it's football, whether it's scuba diving. Be around the people that make it fun.
There you go.
You're never staying the same. You're either taking a step forward or away from your goal. So good job, JT.
Yeah, and I was just that's one of the things about, so we talk a little bit about, we're going to do that in a minute, about mindful awareness and, the mental game. But whole point of self-discovery is that you can know yourself, and then you can actually be yourself without having to, wear masks and be phony. And then as you're able to be yourself, then you can share yourself with others. And so that's kind of that progression. And I think that happens all the time in the league as players come out of college and they start to discover who they are, how they fit in their role in the league, and then what their personality is going to be. So it's pretty cool that way that both you guys have done that. So excellent.
So last question before we get into that is, Fred, what do you see in common between great players? And then what do you think makes a great leader?
Wow. Great question. Let's see. I think the great players in the NFL, because I mean the talent is right there, right, in the NFL. Like if you look at the best player on our team and then the guy who's like probably lower on the 53, I mean the talent is right there. But the guys who have separated themselves and the guy I've kind of seen like around the league who are at the top of the NFL are guys who just truly love the game and who are willing to put in all that extra time that they have into their craft. And I've seen that with myself, just being able to. I mean, the guys who are willing to stay after, get the extra work done, right, or stay later at the facility, come into work earlier, just doing the little things and literally doing it as consistent as possible is what you stack all that work on top of each other, and it makes you into this, this great player. But it's honestly not that big of a thing to wrap your mind around. But like some guys just get it and some guys don't, and it's really just a small thing that you can do, but you got to do it so consistent over time. And the great ones who are able to be great for over time for a long period of time, those are the ones that are able to stay consistent. So,
George, do you want to add anything?
Some of that. Yeah, I mean, you ask this question every week, and I try to answer it newly every single week. But I agree with Fred big time right there. It's
all right, bunch of little things.
I'm trying.
Okay, well, Fred, then one thing. So, looking at this, so we really focus on mental prep and all that kind of stuff. So, can you talk to us a little bit about the evolution of the mental game for you, and not so much the X's and O's, but like just what you do to get your mind right, whether it's, affirmations and visualization or any of those different kind of things. So like, tell us that progression, like when you jumped to college at BYU, was it an integral part of your game? Did they do much of that? Did you? And then how's that evolved for you in the league, now that you're here at this level, and kind of how important is that? And what do you do that works for you?
Man, so the mental part is so big, and I can't stress it enough. I think back in college, I had a little bit of an understanding of it. We had a sports psychology coach that they provided at BYU. It was kind of one of those things where you can use them, you can not use them. I didn't really use them that much. And then the minute I step in with the 49ers, I was like, this is kind of overwhelming. And so I ended up reaching out to him to get some pointers on what I should be doing during training camp to kind of just focus my mind in. And he helped me out a lot with just being, just giving me cues and things that I should focusing on 3 things I wanted to work on that day, just to kind of narrow my focus in on what I was trying to accomplish in practice. So, and then going into last year, I had a slow start to that season. The first half of that season, I didn't feel like I was playing my best football. And so we had a Thursday night game against Arizona, and I didn't have a good game. I dropped a pick that could have been a pick 6, right? Like it was just like little things that were kind of adding up. And Quan ended up going down. And so like I felt a lot of pressure on my shoulders. So I ended up changing my whole routine to focus in a lot on mental preparation in the mornings. I started journaling every morning, writing down something as simple as I'm the best player in the entire football league. Like just writing it down every single day, just like kind of ingrain that in my mind. And then a lot of visualization, spending time meditating, like literally just breathing, visualizing the plays I was going to make that week. And so that it literally started happening. We go into Seattle and I ended up getting my first 2 sacks of my career, and I forced a fumble, and it just kind of like literally things just started like falling into my lap, and it was kind of crazy, but your mind is so powerful. And I've been able to use that to my advantage so early in my career. And I know that's what's going to, continue to guide me on the trajectory I'm on. So I can't even speak on how important the mental game is.
Hey, so what's crazy about that is that, Fred, I specifically remember that because we talked about it. I don't know if you remember that. But you told me, it was a couple of days after it started. Honestly, I think it was after like 2 games. And because I asked you, I was like, hey, like you're playing, I think it's something along the lines of you're playing a little bit different. Like, what have you changed? And you're like, yeah, I changed my entire routine. Everything I'm doing is completely different than what I did 3 weeks ago. I was like, damn, I love it. And it's cool because I mean, like me personally, like my mental thing changed completely from my rookie year to my second year, and then from second to third, and it just keeps growing. And when you figure it out, but like to hear someone else talk about it, it's like, it's really cool. And it's, what's the word? Reassuring or reinforcing like my idea of my mental prep. So I appreciated you talking to me about it because it made me think of my mental prep and how I could change it.
Yeah, reading was another big part of that too. Like I for the longest time I hated reading, but then all of a sudden I started reading these books about, about the mind and about preparation and people who are successful in their fields or wherever. Like, just started reading all these books, and like it literally started helping me like just find little tidbits I could grab to like try and improve myself as a person or myself in my game. So, it's the mind is very strong. I'll say that, very powerful.
So then, what's your favorite book, or what? Got any recommendations?
1,000,000% Relentless. Relentless by Grover. I forget his first name. I don't know have you guys read that book, Relentless?
Well, I have it on
Michael
myself.
Jordan's
That's
trainer.
one I've not gotten to that though, but I've heard really good things about it. Yeah, it's been.
You need to read it.
Yeah.
You need to read it. Tim Grover, that's his name.
So
Michael Jordan's trainer.
Yeah. So you're a reader over audiobook?
I'm a reader from paperback. I'm a hard copy book guy. I actually have one right here. Hold on. I'm reading this one called The Talent Code. It's called Greatness Isn't Born, It's Grown. Here's How. So just as much of these as I could, and for some reason when I'm reading it hard copy, it sticks better. I mean, audiobooks are great too. I've read or I've listened to different audiobooks. I'm listening to a Matthew McConaughey audiobook right now, actually.
Oh,
the Green
Light? The
Green Light.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a very interesting thing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy how, I literally used to never read books. I thought it was the most boring thing ever. And this has actually kind of changed not only my game, but just my life, my outlook on things. So it's helped a lot.
Can I share the book that I'm reading right now?
Please.
I'm
reading Halo.
I knew it.
Oblivion.
Yeah, baby. Come on, man.
So, as I love Halo, and I'm not reading this because I have a deal with Halo, but I've read almost every single Halo book in the Halo universe because I love the storyline. I love the Master Chief. This one's actually about a young Master Chief, which young John 1-7 gets me excited. I love like the space exploration stuff, and he's just a savage. So it lets me. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that because obviously I got him on my forearm. It's a great book though. It's by Troy Denning. He's a New York Times bestselling author. Fred, I'll hold this up. This is the second book in the series.
Are we about to add a book series to the podcast? A little book report by GK?
Hey.
Yeah, I'm in, but I just actually got Relentless on my Audible, so I can't wait to start listening to it, Fred.
Ooh, boy, it'll literally change. It'll change your life. It'll change your life. I'll tell you that.
So I do want to just say though, Fred, thank you for sharing all that. We are hardcore believers in that. So we kind of work with something called MAP, Mindful Awareness and Performance. So really believe in it, but do believe that the mind, the energy that you project through the visualization and the affirmations and all that, it creates the reality that we eventually walk into. So anyways, kudos on that and very well done. So Emmy, should we do some fashion?
Let's do fashion.
I've got a whole new set of shoes for me.
Scoot over. All right. So anyway, fashion, we're going to start off with the kicks, but we have a very exciting piece that we're going to do today. So, Fred, you want to show us your shoes? And obviously, we are a little bit limited capacity on the closet space. So
you think I'm limited?
No, I don't, but you're not at home anymore.
Never.
And otherwise,
right. We are not at home. We are not at home. Obviously, I have a bigger collection at home that I was not able to bring here. However, I do have these shoes that I'll be wearing this game Monday night with my outfit. It's shout out to George. The story about these. Yeah. I acquired these at Fix Kicks down in Santa Clara, California. And I actually wasn't even going in there to get these. I was going in there to get another pair of high top ones, and they caught my eye, and I ended up taking them home with me. So thank you to George for having me tag along, and thank you to Fix Kicks.
I love those blue ones. Yeah. It's such
they're
cool
sick.
color.
That was fun. We got those right before the Vikings game, right? I was during the bye week.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah, it was during the bye week.
I don't know. That whole stretch was a blur. So probably.
Also, Fred,
really was.
You're usually a suit guy though, right? Like talk to us a little bit about like pre-pandemic, like a little traditional game day swag. What you got? Yeah.
So last year, I started getting into the suit game a little bit. That's something I learned from Malcolm as well. I didn't really take it. I didn't take what he was saying very serious at the time because he was telling me I needed to go get suits at this place called Suit Supply. It's on Santana Row. And I was like, no, I'm not spending all that money on suits, man. I'm just going to wear whatever. Like, you know, and I'd show up to the game. I look back, I see pictures of myself before the game. I look disgusting, you know, whatever. I was wearing whatever.
Super tough.
And so, yeah, it was tough.
You've shown a lot of growth.
It was rookie.
Shown a lot of growth.
It was a rookie mistake. I was more focused on. I mean, I'm going in the game nervous, like just being a starter. I was like, oh, I'm not worried about what I'm about to dress. I'm about to just try and focus on my job. So then last year, I started trying to put some pieces together. I started wearing different suits. I was shopping at Zara, which is, you know, they got some all right things, but I was like, then I had to level up this year. And then I thought back to my guy, Malcolm, and I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should check out Suit Supply. Let me go see what they got. And so I've actually gotten some suits from Suit Supply and ended up wearing those this year. And, you know, it's you want to dress for success is my thing, you know, so that's why I'm a suit guy. It's all business. When we enter the stadium, I'm got my little tie. Maybe I had a little turtleneck last week, you know, which was, you know, that was all my girlfriend. She was the one who picked that one out. So I give her all the credit for that one.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Sid.
Shout out
I was waiting to see how we get her in here, but we got it. I love a suit with a turtleneck. I love it.
It's a good look. That's a great look.
Cool.
Hey Fred, I have a quick question for you though. Are you sponsored by Suit Supply? Because you've mentioned them like 6 times now. Are they paying you per time that you say it? Because usually we usually don't do.
This gets that. Hopefully that gets me in with them. But no, they are not. I'm not sponsored by them. They're not sponsoring me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Would you consider?
But you could be Suit Supply.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I consider.
Well, this podcast we usually don't do free shout outs, but obviously we're doing free shout outs now. But I appreciate that. Will you take me to Suit Supply like I took you to Fix Kicks?
Shout out Halo. Is that what this is?
Well, they pay me, so yes. Yeah. You kidding me?
Yeah, Halo and Bud Light, dude, they get all the shout-outs they want.
I got Halo, Panda Express, and Bud Light. It's like a holy trinity, man. I'm living it. Oh, it's everything that I wanted to do.
Oh my goodness.
All right, Georgie, show us your shoes.
All righty. Actually, I've had these for a while. This is my first time breaking them out of the box. Recognizable. Air Jordan 1, the Travis Scott's, the reverse Nike sign. Me and Claire each got to choose a lace to replace it with. So I chose red. She chose pink.
Okay. I was about to ask how the choice went down, but okay. That's good.
It was just that I'm a huge fan of these. I have anything that has like different Nike swooshes on it. I think is so sick because there's not very many of them. And I like the uniqueness. And those are on the Travis Scott has not yet. He has not put out a bad shoe yet.
I was just going to say that. I'm so impressed with his collection.
Yeah, from the green ones that are just absolutely filthy to these ones or the lows. I got both of them. They're pretty looking shoes, and you can kind of wear them with everything. You can dress those down or dress them up.
The wisdom that you get on this podcast, man, is just deep.
Oh my goodness.
I will say, like me and Fred, we might not. I don't wear suits. I'm not a suit guy. I can't. And
that's okay.
Really
that's okay.
I don't like the process of when I get to the game, I have to worry about something like taking off 12 pieces of clothing and hanging them all up so they look good. Because I'm just not a fan of that. Like I wear jeans that are basically sweatpants and then whatever shirt that I'm feeling, and then my shoes, with a little pop. But hey, also side note, fashion. Zenny collection. I am plugging those as well.
Yay!
Side note. Oh yeah, the Kittle collection on Zenny. Me and my wife made some shades. I got plenty of them. Super affordable. A lot of customization options. I've already had people request them. Debo's getting some, so thank you, Debo. You're a monster. And I'm assuming Fred.
We'll put that link up.
Yeah, Fred told me at practice today that he was going to get some as well. So thank you, Fred.
I did say that. Yes, I did say that.
I heard he was going to buy all of them and then all of them for Sydney too.
Yeah,
that's right. That's
what I heard.
We're the next George and Claire. That's our goal in life.
So I have a suit question, Fred. So after you play a game, how does it feel to put the entire suit back on? Is it a lot of work?
That is actually a great question. Absolutely. I was just about to say that. Absolutely. There's a huge difference. Well, that's probably a bad thing to say, but I'm going to be honest. There is a difference. After a loss, you're kind of down. You don't really feel like putting a suit back on, especially if it's a long road trip or a long flight. I'll for sure debate putting the suit on after the game. I'll be like, I'll probably just put the sweats on, but I mean, it is a long process. You're usually the last one out because you got to shower, you got to put the suit back together, boom, boom. But at least when you're going into that, that interview, yeah, boom, boom. You go back into that interview, it's like boom, you got your little suit on, you got your tie, you look good, and you're ready to go. So there's cons and pros to it. But losses and wins are much.
Did you just say cons and pros? No one says that. It's pros and cons.
No one says that. Yeah.
No one says that.
I'm different. I'm being myself. Okay. So
I'm different. I'm different.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Fred. Yeah, let's just relax a little bit, dog.
You're embarrassing yourself.
I always do every single day, dude. I wouldn't be me if I didn't. It's all right. You learn to live with it.
Are you doing a fashion question?
No, I'm gonna.
Okay. So the next thing that I want to tackle with fashion is who has the better, not necessarily better, because I feel like you guys have touched different hair, but who has the longer hair, and can we see it? Take it down.
We for sure can see it. I have longer hair. It actually takes longer to undo just because there's so much to it, but so I've been growing these bad boys for a little over 3 years. I got it to the point where they're out the helmet, they're swinging now for games. That was my whole goal. George, you don't want to show them yours because obviously it's shorter than mine, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
You can definitely tell what year
Fred,
you play.
Fred, I was actually just waiting for you to get done so I could turn my camera on and speak. I think
Fabio.
It's getting there. It's getting there for sure.
I can't hear you over the sound of my long hair.
Yeah, my dreads are actually blocking my ears. I can't hear you. What'd you say?
I can't hear you.
What?
We can't hear each other
What'd you
because
say?
their hair. Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, Fred, you look nice though, man.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
are
You
we
look better.
I'm pretty excited about the one red dread. So if we could stick to that.
Get a date.
Are we going?
Yeah,
hey, Fred, are we going
Hey,
front or back? Are we going
once
here?
Sydney gets down.
Here or in
I
the
think
back?
in the front, just so you can really see it. I think front. I think maybe one red and one blonde. I kind of wanted a blonde red too.
Well, you got to go blonde to go red. So.
Well,
Okay,
I
then
am
there you
blonde,
go.
so. that's
Okay,
tough
so
for me.
how about
you want
once
me to-
Claire, Sydney, and I get down there,
Yeah.
we'll dye some hair.
Okay, I'm down.
Okay.
All right.
It's settled then.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right.
Should we talk?
I'm excited.
Let's talk a little football. Talk to us about COVID and the season and moving to Arizona and all that kind of stuff. How's the transition been? You guys are there in Arizona and you're rolling, and how's that going? And lead us into that whole transition.
Well, this whole season in general has been obviously a little bit of a difference. It's been an adjustment we've had to make, but I mean you gotta stick with what you got. And the team has done a great job of making it as seamless as possible here in Arizona. If I sound different, it's because these things just died on me. But yeah, it's been great. It's Arizona. The weather's nice. It's actually colder than I thought it'd be. It's a little chilly out of practice.
It's great. It is. It's a little chilly, but it's nice, But it has. I think the team did a fantastic job. The hotel and everything has been incredible. They made it very easy. Like we have a ballroom it's a training room and the weight room and the locker room all in one giant room. So you don't have to go over. You don't really have to go anywhere. The food's been excellent. And the rooms are fun too. We're doing what we're making do with what we have, and honestly, it's been really fun so far.
Mm-hmm.
Fred?
Oh,
over to you, Fred.
Said it all. You said it all. I have nothing else.
Well, I do want to mention that yes, you might have been on time, but at least my headphones were charged for the entire duration of the.
Well,
podcast.
that is true. I actually have another pair right there, but I'll probably just rob.
Can't hide the money, Fred. Extra pairs of headphones is laying around your hotel room. Wow,
we will not discuss money around the George Kittle. All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
That's all I need. That's all I need to hear.
So I have a question. So being at the new stadium, have y'all gotten lost? Do you feel like you're going to get lost at the new stadium?
Well, I mean, we don't.
Yeah,
we
George, tell us about it. Tell us about it.
I mean, I'm not playing there for a little bit.
You're not?
So that's all.
Oh, you're still keeping it under wraps. Okay. They're going to announce it later on in the week. All right, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, they'll announce it later on, whatever it is that they're going to announce. I don't know, Fred. But
Sure.
we played here before, and I'm pretty sure we're still using the away locker room, aren't we?
Regardless. I have no idea. I would hope not. I mean, I thought we were supposed to be treating this as our home field, so I would hope that we would have the better locker room of the two.
Huh. I do not know, but it is what it is. We make do with everything. That's what we always do. We're the Niners,
there you
baby.
Go. There you go. Niners.
We
bang,
take
bang,
the punches.
Niner gang.
I love that. Thank you.
Is it
I
a
get
big deal,
paid $10 every time you say that.
You guys don't.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Okay,
There's
shut up.
$20.
Hey, though, the playing at State Farm Stadium, though, as your home field, you guys have played there. Is that a big deal or not really for you guys?
To me, it's not a big deal. Nope. I mean, I do love playing at Levi's. That's obviously our home turf, and love that stadium. But not having fans has been difficult, but obviously something that we've just had to adapt to. Now having fans in Arizona, that's obviously awesome. Yeah, that's something that's a positive to this whole thing, something that we can get excited about. So
yeah, that the addition of fans and now our family can come is pretty sick, and I'm really excited to look up and see my wonderful sister and my beautiful wife sitting there cheering us on.
Hit me.
It's gonna be cool.
Hit me. I'll be there.
And Bruce will be there
Full
soon.
tassels. Claire and I are gonna be dressed to our nines for this first game back.
I think they're just under 5,000. Was it 4,200 people, something like that? So, okay, well let's
just work here.
Let's talk a little football then. So last week, Fred, big win over the old Rams. 2-year sweep of the Rams, keeping them in their place. We love that. Love that. That's all good. So great win. And then, so you guys, I think we're 13-point underdogs on that. So just talk to me a little. Everybody's saying it. We've read about it a little bit, but just what was the flow of the game for you, and how did that whole thing come down when you guys pulled another one out?
Yeah, well, I can't remember exactly how that first series went. I know the offense went out first, but we had talked about how we're just going to try and impose our will. That's been our thing going against the Rams. We know who they are. Oh, look at that. Everybody counted us out.
Yeah,
sorry, George, you have to speak so you can see that.
Yeah, sorry, but this is how I feel. They were so close. 13-point underdogs. No one believed. Oh man, what a fun game.
One believed. The thing that's special about our team is guys genuinely have just a true love for one another. It is a brotherhood, and that's not something you see a lot in the NFL from what I've heard. And so everybody's playing for one another. We go out there, our backs are against the wall. Everybody thinks that we're not going to win the game, and we go out there and we just literally did whatever we could. We scratched and clawed. I felt like the game was going our way the entire time until like that fourth quarter where they ended up getting a couple of quick scores, and then all of a sudden it was a ball game. But, we got a couple of key stops on defense, and then the offense just pounded it at the end to really put the nail in the coffin. So, and obviously we got to plug Robbie Gould, NFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
Woo! So good as gold.
He's been outstanding for us, and just a complete team win. It was huge, especially against a great Rams team.
So, yeah, defense really, it's pretty cool. You had the scoop and score, right, I think, and then INT. So, anytime defense scores, it's a big deal. So, all of that was really cool. But guys, and I think at this point in the season, I guess what I really admired was just the energy that the team brought, because really along the way here with COVID, all the injuries, new people in and out, there are teams that would have kind of folded the tent, not worried about it. And, here we got the Niners going down to the Rams, and the Rams, if they win, they're in first place in the NFC West. You know what I mean? And so they have everything to lose, and you guys really, and there you go, pulling it out, preserve the season. And now we're just kind of game by game, and who knows what's going to happen by the end. So that's pretty cool. So
not that this is about us at all, but this was the first game that we've ever watched in Spanish. So while we were watching the game, we were furiously reading the subtitles. We were watching the game, but it was really interesting to watch the game in Spanish.
So
were the announcers awesome?
Yeah. Oh, they were so over the top. It was great.
That's awesome.
Football!
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, it's so good. Okay. Anybody on defense you want to really who's playing really good? And everybody's playing hard, and I'm not trying to. So anybody you don't mention is not like they're playing bad. I don't.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
But just a couple folks.
Yeah, you got to mention Jimmy Ward. The game he had was outstanding. Just the way he's been playing these last, the entire season really, but just over these last stretch of games, he's been playing at probably the highest level of all safeties in the league. Kerry Hyder has been
dog
tremendous for us. Just the fact that we lost some key guys on the edge early in the season, and he's come in and played at such a high level. I think he's at 7.5 sacks now. He's been the guy, and it's so funny too because like I watch him on tape and like in the game, and he's just so slippery, and he just kind of just finds a way. He always just finds a way to get to the quarterback, and he does it in the run game, in the pass game. Yeah, he's so consistent for us. Can't say enough good things about Kerry. And like you said, I mean, I can go on and on. Guys like Devon coming on as a rookie and being so big for us. He had that pick six, which was fun. He's continued to get better and better throughout the weeks, and excited for him and his growth. And like I said, I continue to keep going. But just a couple of guys that I feel like have been doing an outstanding job.
I think DJ's back this week, right? He just got picked back up. So he's been a great player and played really well for you. So that's only going to solidify some things there. So that's really good. And then just shout out to the offense, getting that drive together, going down and putting Robbie in a position to do that. I mean, that was so Nick and the boys and Debo and just everybody pulling it together and just never giving up. And so it just really, the stuff from Shanahan after the game about, one of his most proudest moments. I mean, last year you guys are in the Super Bowl and here you are, losing record, going down to the Rams, and it ends up being really one of, I think, his greatest coaching jobs, keeping everybody on the table. So great job from there. Any other messages? How's the locker room after, and what did OKS had to say? What's the wisdom from the top?
Let's see. George, were you in that locker room when we won?
No, I was sitting at home watching the game by myself.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you came out or not.
Nope.
So locker room was, it was high energy. High energy. Obviously, it was a huge win, divisional win. Guys were obviously excited, as you can imagine. And Kyle, like he was really, like he said in the press conference, he was just so he literally just was so happy for us, and just the fact that he was so proud of the way we played, the way we came out, we competed under all the circumstances of just finding out that our county had been shut down and not knowing what was going to happen next. We literally just came out and said, you know what, we're just trying to go 1-0. We're trying to win this game against the Rams. And that's what we did. We came out and did, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't a pretty win, but we came out and we got it. So it was good.
Okay, so now let's just take a look next week a little bit. So you guys coming in 5-6, playing the Bills at 8-3. They've been playing really high level football all the way through. Let's see. Last week they beat the Chargers. Their only losses are the Tennessee and the Chiefs. And then the week 12 they lost to Arizona 30-32. So they're playing really good. Fred, I know you're looking at them because now we're toward the end of the week. Anything you can tell us about the Bills and the matches? What should people be looking for, and what are you thinking?
Well, kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier. Just the fact that I've been studying them from the beginning of the season, and not really studying, but just watching closely, just because they came off to such a hot start, being one of the only undefeated teams for a while. And I was like, okay, well, what's the deal with these guys? And I think they've been playing great football over the last few years, and I attribute that to their coach, doing a great job with their players, and also to who they got at quarterback, Josh Allen. And he's continued to get better and better. I think did we come in the same year? He might have been a year earlier than me, but
Josh. Is Josh? I think he's your class.
Your year? Is he my class?
He's your year. Yeah, because he played Iowa the year. He's the year after me.
Okay, so just the fact that he's come in and he's continued to progress as a true quarterback, because he's always had like the arm talent and the athletic ability, and he's been able to showcase that, but just the decision making and being better about that. And their defense has always played at a high level. They play an aggressive style of defense, and it's a huge challenge for us. And I think it's going to take all of us. George, you look great. It's going to take all of us, and I'm looking forward to the challenge for sure.
Excellent. Yeah. And Josh playing good, and Stephon Diggs. And so I looked at it. Their overall NFL, they're 10th in scoring, 11th in yards per game. So their production's been really good, and they're playing good up front. We'll do a little shout out to Iowa boy, Ike Boddicker.
You got Ike Bucker. And then you also have Micah Hyde, who's also a dog. And also AJ.
Is Micah Hyde Iowa? Is he Iowa guy?
Yeah.
He was my year. We were friends together.
He's a good player.
Yeah. He's good. And then Espinoza, the defensive end. I've not been watching a lot of film because I'm not playing this week, but
is it Espinoza or Espinoza?
Enza, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's Espinoza.
Enza.
Yep.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
Yeah. So, he was Iowa's first 5-star recruit. because his dad went there.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah.
He was a monster.
Yeah. George almost made a 5-star recruit, but no. Anyway,
2.5, baby.
2.5. They are 17th in scoring D as far as points per game given up. 9th in sacks. They got 30 sacks, and 18th in INTs with 8. So anyway, certainly bringing it to the – so it should be pretty good. So let's see. Anybody else? Let's see. Brandon's coming back too, right? He's off, I think.
Ayuk's back. Debo's back. Jeff Wilson's back. Is Tevin back this week?
I don't know.
I think so.
Idea.
I think Tevin's back this week. I haven't been to practice, so I'm not. I think he's been to practice. Yeah, he's been to practice because he's not in the training room. So yeah, I think Tevin's back. We got our stable of running backs back with our wide receivers. I'm excited to see it. And every week I do really love watching the tight end room from Ross Dwelly to Charlie and Jordan Reed, because there's a lot of flavor in there, and it's we can do some fun things out of that room.
George, you said you might be back this week, right? Or is that still up in the air a little bit?
No, I broke my foot. I can't play this week.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I know. Actually,
okay.
Everyone on the internet for some reason thinks that I have a high ankle sprain, so I don't know even what that's about.
The rest of the internet
There's
thinks that you're in Mexico with us too.
Oh yeah, no. Everyone thinks I'm in Cabo right now, and no,
we got so many crazy messages.
That sounds like something you would do, though. So it's not
dude.
that. It's not.
I posted a photo. Claire posted a photo for Thanksgiving of us in Cabo, and I had my DMs were filled with, "What are you doing? Why are you not rehabbing your foot? We need you to play. You're not a team player. How are you a captain?" I've been in Santa Clara rehabbing my foot.
No! When they start questioning the captain, it's like, oh no, that's
all you hardos out there. Let's just take a deep breath. It's football season. I'm playing football.
Okay, so anyway, Fred, thank you for the update. So obviously we wish you the very best in the game and all that kind of stuff. We're certainly cheering. And so week by week right now, Niners clawing themselves back into a playoff position. And then who knows what happens after that. So we are super excited about those options. So let's flip it over just a little bit. So unless, Fred, there's anything else you want to say on the game or status of all that? Are you pretty well covered?
No, sir. Go Niners.
Okay. All right. So we're super excited. We feel the Big Mo returning to not the Bay Area, to the Phoenix area for right now. But anyway, we're going to lock and load it. So service and giving back. So that's what the Hidden Pearls podcast is really about. We like football and we enjoy sharing that. But part of it is about sharing the untold stories of the people and communities impacted by social and environmental injustice. So this week, right after this, coming up is the interview with the Daryl Richardson and Josiah Harris with 100 Black Men, which is a mentoring group for middle school and high school students of color, and they do mentoring and educational stuff. So just with that, and so Fred, we want to kind of touch base with you just a little bit. So we always ask just a little bit of story about kind of the role of service, community service, giving back, either growing up, part of your church or not or whatever. And then what did you do at BYU? And then I know you've been active. I've got a couple of things in my notes, but at the NFL as well. But just tell us a little bit about, that the role of that stuff in your life.
Well, yeah, I think it's always been really important. From a young age, my mom kind of just preached that, just service and giving back to people. I've done a number of things in the NFL just with the team that they offer, giving back and doing some things like that. At BYU, we had this thing called True Blue Hero, that we would have somebody come in every week. I think it was every Tuesday. And it was somebody that was, down on their luck, obviously, whether it be whatever it was. And they were having a hard time. And we would come in and we do this big thing where we make them feel special and give them gifts and let them know that we're thinking about them, we're praying for them. And it was something that really touched me, just because they would walk away from it and just be so happy, smiling, just all these little things that we would literally get more out of it than they did, maybe, just because of how touching it was. And so it's always been something that's been really important to me. And I'm hopefully soon I can start my own, organization with community service. I'm trying to think of exactly what I want to do, but hopefully soon something good.
Well, we'll have you on the podcast when you figure it out.
Ooh, yeah. Yes, we will.
Yeah, we would love to promote anything that you end up being involved in, and if you have stuff. So I just want to note a couple of notes. Foster youth, you guys worked with Unity Care in 2019, I believe, as a dedication to Dre Greenlaw. who was a former foster youth. And so you guys had hosted some people and worked with them. And then Crucial Catch Fashion Show, you participated in that, working with individuals who had cancer and kind of just going through the motions and being part of that and making them feel better as well. So appreciate you very much for all of those kind of things. So, okay. Then Fred, I don't know, we kind of talked a little bit. One of the things that came up, because we've already done the 100 Black Men interview, was just their whole thing is about who we see as what we will be. And the point there for them is the reason they're really specific about Black men in business working as mentors with Black youth, particularly, is that they really feel it's important to kind of embody that so they can kind of see people of color in leadership roles and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know, we talked a little bit, but not too much, but just kind of how does that fit in with your life, or what have you seen? And I think one of the things that came out is, at least for these, because a lot of the youth that they work with are from Oakland and some really difficult situations. And they do have some special and unique, it's hard, some of the ways in which, those things come up. And so they work primarily with disenfranchised, disadvantaged youth and families in poverty. So, but anyway, just to the extent that you've seen, obviously with George Floyd and all the things that we've seen, and then the NFL's commitment, what really, because we talked about that on the show too, just from the years ago with Colin Kaepernick, where they really basically outcast him, and now everybody's wearing Breonna Taylor, and it takes all of us, and the NFL's really stepped up and changed their tune and all that kind of stuff. So just any reflections on that as far as kind of the race issue and all the things that we're dealing with in addition to all the COVID?
For sure. I think that was a great point you made when talking about role models, as Black men, because there are a lot of Black youth, like you mentioned, in Oakland, in different areas, that they're coming up, and it is very hard situations that I'm not familiar with, because I came up in a place where, it was a lot of, I guess it wasn't as rough, I guess you could say. It was a very safe environment. I wasn't really aware to all of that kind of stuff, but some of these guys, they don't get to see a lot of success in terms of seeing people go off and go to college and be business leaders in business, or leaders in politics and stuff like that. And, and I think something that goes unseen to a lot of the population. And we've had this whole conversation about racism, right? When in terms of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all these protests that happened. And a lot of the racism isn't necessarily, just whites hating Blacks or something, or, hate crimes or anything like that. It's just about, a lot of it is systemic racism. Just the fact that we're not all starting on the same platform in terms of when we're born. There's different opportunities that are given to whites than there are to Blacks, and, just Black oppression and things like that. So I think it's important just for everyone, because, a lot of people might say, well, I'm not racist. I feel like I'm doing a good job, but it's more so, it's more than that. It's more about realizing that there are things going on and being aware. So that's, it's so easy to say, well, I don't see color, but the reality is that there is a difference. The guys, people are starting at different points in terms of opportunities, and I think we all got to try and help each other to get that level on the same playing field. And I try to be as good of a mentor, or as a leader, or role model as I can, as a Black man, and that's how I'm going to be viewed in the society. I do come from a multicultural background, but I do take a lot of pride in that. And I did a lot of work with some of the things that were going on back in the summer, and talked about how we can't let some of those issues just the conversation die down, right? We have to keep the conversation going and make real change from it. And I feel like we've done a very good job of that. And this team has been very supportive in all those efforts as well. I think Mr. York has done an outstanding job with the team and allowing us to be ourselves and supporting us in every way possible. So that's kind of my 2 cents about it. And like I said, I never really experienced any true discrimination or anything like that. I grew up under a household with a single mom who was white, grandmother who was white, and so I always felt, even though I wasn't I guess you could say biracial family, but it wasn't really any kind of difference to me. That's all I knew, and so I've always been treated equally, and I'm just trying to get it to a point where we all are, seeing each other as just human beings and showing love for one another. So.
Love for one
applause
another.
button. We
Yeah.
have an applause button on our.
We don't have our
check at
board
home,
here,
but I don't
so
have it. But
that was great, man. So, well, I
Fred
appreciate.
for approval.
Yeah. So we appreciate that. And so we are super excited. So if you get involved in some stuff, so we are really interested in trying to maintain that dialogue. And that's one of the things we're trying to do about really keeping it on the forefront, talking about systemic issues as it relates to social injustices that do occur. And it is an ongoing thing. And it's not a fair playing field and all that kind of stuff. So we're glad to do that. And we hope this isn't the only time that we can partner up with you. So it's been really great having you on the show. So anything else that we haven't covered that, just any pearls or nuggets of wisdom from Fred's corner that maybe you want to share, anything else? But thank you very, very much for being on the show. And then, I don't know, Georgie, I don't want to cut you off. We always put you in the spot. Yours is the follow-up. So anything you want to add to Fred's comments on any of that stuff either. So thank you guys.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead,
No,
George.
yeah, thank you, Fred. I mean, I love because obviously, like back when everything started, like I have knowledge of everything. Well, the topics that were discussed, I had knowledge of those, but not very deep knowledge or expansive knowledge, and just the whole process, like how much I think I've learned personally, but I feel like all of America has really learned just from whether it was the protests or all the topics that were talked about, especially starting with George Floyd, and it's just how the knowledge kind of exploded, and you kind of realized, hey, yeah, like I think you said, it's like people saying like, hey, I'm not racist. That's not really enough. Like it doesn't, like, good, congratulations, you shouldn't be. But like, what are you doing to stop the people that are? Or what are you doing to inhibit the spread of it, or the spread of racism? And I think, your points on starting at different levels. You can't not agree with that, in my opinion. It just is what it is when you look at it. So I appreciate you for talking about it, because every time I do listen to someone talk about it, I feel like I learn more and more. So I appreciate you definitely sharing with us. So thank you so much.
No doubt. And also something that's important is the fact that, the conversation isn't an easy one, right? It is uncomfortable to talk about. I'm sure most people are uncomfortable talking about, whites versus blacks and, racism, and all these things are just such, those are words of racism is such a word of conflict to a lot of people, obviously, which is, it's something that's not good. It shouldn't be around. But the fact that guys like George, or, people who aren't of color, it's so important to hear their voices as well, because those, you're going to reach a lot more people than I might, just because of the background that you came from, and some people that really may need to hear that from, someone like yourself. So it's been great to hear from a lot of different people in this process. And I've learned a lot, because I have so much to learn as well in terms of the process. And I've tried to do my due diligence with it. But yeah, it's something that is going to continue to, it's a learning process, and I've learned so much from it, and I'm going to try to continue to learn as much as possible going forward. So
I think that's one of the interesting things. Obviously 2020 has been very heavy for a lot of people, but if we really step back and we look at what it was an opportunity to learn a lot of things about our country and about the people who inhabit it and about how we feel. And just because, like all of you guys just said, just because I'm not racist doesn't mean the person next to me, not you, he's not racist, but just because the person that I come across, like another person right next to me, is right, isn't. And I think that as we go forward and as we start to rebuild, and I think the word that I keep feeling for like the wrap up of 2020 is healing, because let's be honest, just because the year ends doesn't mean, just because December 1st or January 1st comes doesn't mean that everything's going to get all sunshine and rainbows again. And I think that if we keep saying that, we're really just setting ourselves up for some more heartbreak. And so looking at what is going on and being really aware and being really present and figuring out how we can all heal and have these really safe and nurturing and supporting conversations is really, really important. So for two people who are incredible change makers and leaders of their packs, I just have to say it's very inspiring, and just y'all's calm presence, as ridiculous as both of you are, I have to say, you're so crazy. I wish everybody could see the screens that we're seeing, but I just have to say, using your platforms and putting your message out there and how you feel and the love that we want to promote and share with the rest of the country is very, very important, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you for being on our show. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for showing your hair. Thank you for committing to Diet Red. And thank you, Fred, for beating the Rams, because that was something
Awesome.
else.
Oh, it felt good. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it did.
Okay.
All right, boys. Well, with
Well,
that,
last one. I just want to say on Fred stuff. So it's one thing not to be racist, but we're working on being allies. And so it's just like the airport stuff. If you see something, say something. At some time, you got to drop the Canucks and stand up and make a difference. And so we are the people that can make that difference. And it ain't going to happen because anybody else does it. It's because we do it. So anyway, let's encouragement to all of our folks listening. Let's make sure that you're clear about who you are, and let's make a stand on the things that matter. So, Fred, love you, man. Big fan, and so excited for this. I still feel great about the season and where the Niners have a chance to get to. We're super excited. Can't wait for George to get healthy. And so you can stop giving him shit about not playing, but you just keep on riding his ass until he gets back there. Georgie, we love you to death. All right, man.
I love you guys,
You guys
too.
be safe. Take care in Arizona, and I can't wait to see you soon. All right. Thank you,
Yes,
Fred,
sir.
very,
Thank
very
you.
much.
Hey,
All right.
thank you. Love you guys.
All
You
right.
guys been
all
great.
right,
Appreciate
bye.
it.
Thank you.
See you, man.
See you guys.
Welcome, everybody. We are very proud to have with us today Daryl Richardson, who is a longtime volunteer with 100 Black Men of the Bay Area. And we also have with us Josiah Harris, who was participant in 100 Black Men and is still active as a student representative with the organization. Welcome to Daryl and Josiah. We are so excited and thankful that you guys are joining the show today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for having us. This should be exciting.
Exactly.
We think so too. And if there's a little wind in the background, Bruce and I have been bouncing around trying to find multiple internet connections. So now we're outside. So I might be like this for a little bit. But okay, Daryl, let's get into your bio. Daryl has successfully sustained a 20+ year career in the youth development field and is a respected and well-known name amongst the Bay Area community. He serves as a consultant and advisor for the 100 Black Men of the Bay Area Fund Development Team and has been the co-chair of the mentoring committee. Daryl is a progressive thinker that has served the Bay Area community as a consummate professional and champion of organizations that are committed to innovation, change, and providing solutions. Daryl is a community organizer with SEIU Local 1021 Healthcare Workers. Daryl believes that there is enough opportunity and resources for everyone to thrive and will continue to blaze trails for the advancement of people of color in professional settings. That is an inspiring bio. I love it. All right, and Josiah was born and raised in East Oakland, California. As the youngest of 5 children, Josiah graduated from San Leandro. All right.
San Leandro.
Thank you. High school at the top of his class with honors. Josiah is currently attending Sacramento State University, studying political science with the hopes to become a civil rights attorney one day. He is a student liaison of mentoring for the 100 Black Men of the Bay Area, Inc. Josiah, like many of his peers, wishes to break and defeat socioeconomic barriers. In Oakland, he was a student of the OUSD's Office of African American Male Achievement, AAMA program. Through AAMA, he participated faithfully in the Student Leadership Council, where he traveled and represented at conferences all over the country. Harris is also involved in many other organizations in the community and is the recipient of both the Frederick Douglass Leadership Memorial Award in 2019 and the Man in the Mirror Social Justice Award of 2018. He embodies the spirit of our ancestors as a community activist and social justice warrior. A quote that deeply resonates with him is, "I am because we are because I am. May the circle be unbroken." Thank you guys so much for being here. We're so excited to talk to you.
Thank you.
And pass it up to
Appreciate
BK. And and Josiah just turned 18. So welcome to adulthood, my man.
Appreciate it. It's real.
He's got a car now, getting insurance.
Hey.
He's doing all
Car
those
payment,
things.
insurance payments, the whole thing.
Man, insurance is expensive.
No doubt. Okay, I got a little blurb here on the organization, so I'll just kind of read that and then we'll kind of get into it. So I know it's a little narration, just we want to give people some background. So,
For sure.
100 Black Men of the Bay Area. We are 501c3 nonprofit organization created in 1988, comprised of 114 professional African American men. The members of 100, can I go BMBA? Is that all right? Donate over 8,900 volunteer hours and $74,000 in member dues annually. The 100 BMBA is one of the 100 chapters of the 100 Black Men of America national organization, which was founded in New York City in 1967. National organization comprised of 10,000 members that mentor over 125,000 underserved, underrepresented minority youth annually. Our mission for the 100 BMBA is to improve the quality of life within the Bay Area community and to enhance educational and economic opportunities for disadvantaged, disenfranchised, and low-income youth and families. We are committed to helping those in our community make wiser health, lifestyle, and economic decisions, and helping our youth create and accomplish educational goals that will lead to family-sustaining wages and long-term career and life success. All right, so a whole lot going on with that. I got the motto in later, so we're going to come back to that. All right, Daryl. So,
Okay.
Daryl, we'll kind of toss one up to you guys. So the Hidden Pearls podcast. So our deal is, it's called the Hidden Pearls because every time we talk to people working in charities, they really are like hidden pearls. You know what I mean? So they're kind of like under the radar. And then the people they serve is the same thing. A lot of people don't know the stories of some of the different people and the charities that we work with. So we're very grateful to have you guys here. So you are hidden pearls as we, again, seek to kind of share these stories that a lot of people don't hear. So Daryl, would like to know a little bit, because your bio is pretty impressive, as Emma said. Like to just know a little bit about how you got so involved in community activism. And I know we talked about it. So it sounds more like a book than it does a 1-hour podcast. So, we'll have to be careful about that. But, and then how did you get involved with 100 Black Men as you got going on that? So just because you're very passionate about what you do, you and I've talked a couple, 2 or 3 times on this, and it's clear your love for kind of community activism and your role historically in the Bay Area. So appreciate all that you've done. So tell us a little bit about your story and then how you got hooked up with the 100 Black Men group.
So I'll kind of start from the beginning. When I was Josiah's age, I went to San Jose State University, and they had started recruiting a lot of African-American young men to go to college, which was not significant. And so I was fortunate to be in one of those groups, went to San Jose State, and you had this group of young men. I met a couple last night. We had dinner. We joked about it. Like 30 years ago, we were in college, and all the amazing things we did, some of the crazy things we did, but how we all became somewhat successful. And so one of my mentors, Lewis Bundy, who was amazing, was kind of always there for us, where, I did have both my parents, I had brothers and sisters. I had a really good support group. I should not have even close to failed, but I kind of was away from home, and I had him to say, like, man, that guy, when I was getting off track a little bit, he would kind of pop me in the head and get me right on track. And so I was able to graduate. And during that time, I got involved in other programs. We started some other groups on campus. And I said, this is just going to be my thing. Like, I'm not around to make the most money. I don't want to have the biggest things. I wanted to do more in the community. And I started from there. And I was working at Costco, business delivery, long time ago. Your daughter probably doesn't know what that means. But Costco, it was Price Club before Costco. It was Price Club. So I was working there, and we started getting involved, and I was one of the hiring managers. I could hire people. And so I said, you know what, I just want to do more in the community. And I just kind of got involved and got lucky and fortunate enough, as I was volunteering, to get a job with Jerry Brown and run a youth development program for the city of Oakland. And that's what kind of sparked everything. And you were able to use all the connections with our youth development, helping out the community, and seeing if you give people the opportunity, they could grow. And so from that, I did some crazy stuff where I was with Upward Bound, UC Berkeley, Upward Bound with Cal State East Bay. I helped out with Inroads, all these different programs that took young men like Josiah and put them in a position to kind of grow and flourish. And that's what I've been doing for years. And then I saw the 100 Black Men as kind of a bigger platform where I could use their voice and their power to kind of talk to city officials, state officials, nonprofits, raise money. And I'm like, man, this is perfect for me. I can use them as a platform and just do more. So not just help out with 4 or 5 young individuals. We could do, like right now, our program has about 650 to 800 that we work with on a regular basis. And I think if you look at this, so if you can change the lives of 600 individuals that really change the lives of maybe 6,000, because it's not just Josiah. Josiah has nephews and nieces and brothers and sisters and mothers. So it changes the lives of more people within our ecosystem. And I think that's my thing. And that's what I'm passionate about. And now I even work, I do the work for the union also. So it all connects. So for me, what I do, it all connects into one ecosystem.
Quite the ripple effect there. And I think, not that I'm fresh out of college, but when I think about organizations that I was a part of in college, nothing hit me hard enough to be like, this is where I want to spend the rest of my life. So even just kudos to making it an exciting organization and exciting for the youth, because not that you're youth, Josiah, but when you're in college, it's like you have to have something that's like really exciting and stimulating and really connect with you like on a soul level. And if it doesn't, it's not there. And so I think even just the energy that I'm sure you guys bring and the passion to it, I think that's something that also needs to be highlighted. So very good on that.
Let me give you, can I give you a short story?
Yeah.
So one of my first kids that I kind of ever met, he used to come to our class. We teach these mentoring sessions on Thursdays. He would come every day. We bring them food. So our take was we bring them food, then they come and get some knowledge. So they get he would come every day with his pants hanging down, and we kick him out, say, look, we're going to feed you, but you got to leave until you show us some respect with what we're doing. And he did it for, I'd say like 6 weeks. He would come every time. He'd say, I'm just going to get my food. And he says, I'm not going to be around anyway. I feel I'm not going to be living past 18. And we're like, what are you talking about? I mean, so for my environment where I live, I've never heard that. We don't say that. But for him in his community in Oakland, and Josiah knows who he is before I mention his name, he always said, I'm not going to be alive anyway. His mom had passed. He wasn't really doing well with his dad, didn't know where he was. And so he's living with his sister that was only a couple of years older than him. So you're thinking his opportunity to make it is very limited. But we said, look, we're never going to discourage you and push you out, but you will respect what we're trying to do. And he was involved with Josiah's program, with AMA, with the 100 Black Men. And finally, he came back the next semester and pulled out his grades and said, look, I want to be a part of it. He went from like a 2.3 or 4 to like a 3.6 and said, I'm going to change. And I was like, what? But I did have to go buy him a belt that day because he still wasn't like changing he said, this is my look, man. I live in the community. I got to look. I said, you know what? I get that, but you're going to buy a belt. So we ended up years later, I take him to school, his first year of college, freshman year. He had nobody to take him there. So me, a couple of buddies bought a bunch of stuff for him. I said, I'm going to take you. I took off work that day. I dropped him off at college and people were like, man, your pops is so cool, man. He's like, oh, I like that. So since then, that's been my name. It's just Pops. And so whatever he needs, I can kind of guide him, but he has so much help with other people. But the point is, you gave him a chance. And now he's in his freshman year at the University of Chicago in the MBA program. So think about this 16-year-old with his pants hanging down, didn't care about anything, just was disrespectful to this young man that's powerful. Ricky Jackson, where he's powerful, and he comes to our house for like holiday dinners. I take care of him any way he can, but he has flourished beyond belief. And that's just giving somebody a chance where they kind of take it to the next level.
Chance to believe.
So that's a great story.
That is. So chance to believe. So Daryl, before I got some stuff in here about some of the things you guys work with the 100 Black Men, but part of your bio says, we'll continue to blaze trails for the advancement of people of color in professional settings. So I've worked with corrections doing mentoring, for people coming out of prison and probation and parole and that kind of stuff. And so the power of mentoring, having a connection and giving people hope, I totally get. And this is probably a super obvious question in your world, but it's not for everybody that's listening. So when your bio talks about specifically working with people of color, and I'd like us to just address a little bit that commitment and the unique challenges that, and I think particularly young men, but I think also young women of color face in today's world that 100 Black Men is particularly, I think, structured, but also your passion for that. So can you just talk to us a little bit about the uniqueness of, I guess, and we've, for the last 6 months, there's a whole thing we could go into, right, in America, being Black in America and that whole piece. But could you talk to us a little bit about the specific nature of that and the unique challenges that people face in that situation?
So if you really look at it, I've been doing this with the organization for longer than Josiah's almost been alive, like when I joined. But it's transitioned. 8 months ago, when you heard the 100 Black men, people were kind of offended. Like, why are you called the 100 Black men? Why can't we have white men in there? Why can't we have white women? I'm like, well, because you're not. I mean, this is something that we have to take. We have to take some responsibility as Black men for our Black young men and women. So if we don't take responsibility, how can we expect somebody else outside our race to help? And if we think about it, when George Floyd and all the things that have happened in the community kind of changed, it kind of changed the way people looked at the 100 Black men and said, man, you guys are actually doing good. We respect you. I'm like, we've been doing this for a long time. So just because you're thinking we're respecting us, it's not the case. We've been doing this for years. And maybe you should take a look at the way you see us. Is I'm not trying to do anything excluding of anyone else. But what I'm saying is we know historically African Americans have been at the bottom of the barrel. And we're just trying to rise to the top like everyone else. And for me, the 100 Black men has gained some respect. And I even look at what the 49ers have done. Maybe 10 years ago, the 49ers would have never chosen us to be one of their top recipients. Now we're having conversations with John Lynch on a regular basis and all their staff, which is amazing because they're seeing that there's some value. And that old saying that Black Lives Matter, it's cool. It's okay to say that, and that it's not offensive as it was maybe a year ago. Like a year ago, it's okay to say it. Anybody can say it. In my neighborhood, I live in predominantly probably white neighborhood, but there's so many signs that say Black Lives Matter, and African Americans don't live in those houses. I know for a fact. And so it's more comfortable that we are changing the way we give other people a chance. And I love Josiah and what he's doing. And I think he's going to be a change maker. So when I move on and do other things, we'll have people like him that'll be making those changes also.
So we're going to transition a little bit. I do really,
Pop's passing the baton, right?
yeah, kind of appreciate that. So just two quick things. One, and just how much it's changed if we go back to just the NFL response right now, because, with George and everything, and Breonna Taylor on the back of somebody's helmet, right? I could not have imagined that 3 years ago, right? And then it takes all of us and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just if we go back to Colin Kaepernick and the way the NFL responded, they totally left him out to dry and shut him down. The league failed miserably. There's just no other way around it. And the response this time after George Floyd's murder and the way in which the Players Coalition has rallied, and there's a whole lot there we don't have to go into now, but just the entire NFL stepping up and standing behind it, the way they put out, get out the vote, and everything was totally different this time. And I'll just say this. So I went to law school back in '89. And when I was there, one of my best friends, he was the admissions director, and they had started a program. So for the minority students, because we didn't have a very big population, right? We had a class of about 280, 300, and about half of those were women. So that was growing, but maybe 10%, people of color. But they did kind of a summer, it was just a quick start program, like helping people transition about the classes and what they're going to get into and all that kind of stuff. A little higher. Okay, I'm getting coach. Anyway, but it was targeted for, minority students. And eventually the university made them open it to every incoming first-year law student because of, you can't just do it for minority students, which, at the time, so this is in the 80s, right? So it's a little different conversation. But the reality was, those minority students that were coming in did face completely different challenges than I did. And I went in as an older student at 26, but it was really different. And I didn't really appreciate that until I got into law school and then got to know some of the people and really understood that in a different way. So I think that evolution about appreciating, I don't know, unique, but I think it is the status of being Black in America, what it has meant historically in that context, and then where we go from here. So anyway, I appreciate that notion, and we're going to keep coming back to that a little bit. And Josiah, that's really part of the conversation I want to pick up with you later when we get to you. So, and if we're talking about anything and you want to jump in, you don't have to wait till later. So it's all good. But I mean, because you are the youth and the future of this movement in which Daryl and men like him are committing themselves so that the America that we face in the future is not the America that we've had to endure of late. And so that's, I think, all of our hopes that we're moving in that direction. So, okay, go ahead, Daryl. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate that. And it goes back to our ancestors. I think for him, those who came before Daryl and folks like you all have laid the pavement for you guys to walk on and to be able to live life for the next generation. And it's just generation to generation. And I appreciate all of those, the elders who are laying pavement for us to be able to walk successfully and be able to continue the movement. So much appreciated.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about some of those forefathers and what they got going with 100 Black Men. So, Em, you want to go there with some of that?
Yeah. So we wanted to share the mission of, 100 Black Men in America, or in the Bay Area. But the mission is to enhance educational and economic opportunities for disadvantaged, disenfranchised, and low-income youth and families. So could you guys talk a little bit about what it means to be disadvantaged, disenfranchised, and or to be a low-income youth or family?
So when you think about usually the disparity of low income or individuals that potentially could not really achieve marginal incomes to kind of support their families. You can go back from history, and if you're living in the housing projects, you're not owning the projects. Like when you're usually living in those projects, you're not making enough to kind of send your kids to school. You're not doing these extra things, and it just becomes a struggle. Like people in those situations struggle on a daily basis. Food insecurities, just how they feel about what they're doing. And I actually work for one of the largest unions in the area, and we see that within our structure of the union. So for me, with 100 Black Men, we try to achieve those things where we try to help people to raise their income level with jobs, career, and education. And then we also try to get them to feel better about themselves so they can send their kids and push their kids to do more. And that's the significance of how we're trying to do things. Hell, we even saw the pandemic. We've been feeding families. Josiah and I, last week, we fed over 1,000 families during Thanksgiving because we're like, there's food insecurity. So we fed them not just for the day, we started feeding them a week ahead of time. And we've been involved in some programs with Eat, Play, and Learn from Steph Curry's program, where they did over 140,000 meals since last March. So you kind of figure out you can't solve every issue, but we can support. We can have men help and do volunteering. We can use our leverage to push the mayor or the council members to say, let's get more of those programs. So for me, that's the significance of the 100 Black Men and how we can give some more direction and power for the good, not the evil. Go ahead, Josiah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I feel like to be disenfranchised and being low income, I feel like our youth, we don't start the race in the same place. I think everybody tries to paint this notion where we all start the race the same and you end up where you get, and that's just honestly not the truth. Our youth come to school, they're hungry because of maybe what's going on at home, and maybe their parents are out working 3 jobs and they can't get up in the morning to cook breakfast for them. So when they come to school and they may not be full energy or they may not be focused. Some kids fall asleep in class. And, we have teachers and educators who like to jump the gun. I don't want to categorize all educators because we have some amazing trailblazers out there. But a part of the root is the education system that's failing our kids. And that's something I can really address later too. But students, there's reasons behind why a student may act out in class, why a reason a student may be hungry, or kids may be, they may be getting made fun of because of the clothing. They may not have the newest Jordans out just because they can't afford it. And there's a lot of reasons. And I think we need to start looking at the root. There's a lot if you look at the root and how we can solve that. And I think, as Daryl mentioned, we're trying to hit the root. like you said, food insecurities. Yes, we were out, feeding folks who were hungry, and all they could say is thank you, and that just warms our heart because we know that they're struggling, and for folks, we're privileged to be able to say that, we can go to the refrigerator and grab food and they can't. And so that's being privileged. And so that warms our heart, definitely.
Definitely. So, and I really appreciate that because the educational system is where stuff starts, right? Where people, and I still remember one of the very first, this is like, early, like late 80s or 90s, cultural sensitivity. Daryl, you remember all that kind of stuff? And people,
Yes.
trying to, but anyway, they put everybody on a line and they'd read off these 10 questions and then you take a step forward if you had it and you take a step back if you don't, right? And it's just all the stuff you're talking about. Did you have two parents? Did you have this or did you have that? And then, and this, I'm a big Pearl Jam fan. You probably don't even know what Pearl Jam is, dude, Josiah. But anyway, they're a rock band, grunge band from Seattle back in the 90s. But anyway, they have a great song, and we've said it on this podcast a bunch of times, but Born on Third and thinks he hit a triple. You know what I mean? But the level of privilege that people are born into, right? And you just think, I'm just doing it and I'm really, but the reality is it's not. And so when you go through that step forward, step back thing, all of a sudden you look around, it's like, wow, if I didn't have all the things I did have, or if I had these other situations in my life, there I am, and the race is not even, and it's not a fair start. So appreciate you bringing all that kind of stuff. And the education system certainly a critical area in which, to start advancing so that people get, to where you're at right now with a more fair, at least equal chance to try to advance and do the things in life that they want to do. When we did Eva's Village out of New Jersey, for the Giants game, and we talked with folks at their executive director. She was just on fire. If you guys haven't listened to that one, she's amazing. But anyway, and she just talked about, we talked about, job training and all that kind of stuff. And she just had a real reality check. She said, until you're sleeping somewhere and you have food in your stomach and your kids are taken care of, you don't have the level of autonomy to be able to make choices about where you want to work and what education you want to get. You are in survival mode. And it's just a whole different framework, and many of us never have experienced that, and I'm fortunate and blessed for that. But it's still a reality that I think getting people to understand is really different. So, okay, we're going to keep working here on Her Black Men. Thanks for that input. We're rolling. Emmy, you want to jump on that next one? And maybe we hit on that a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the clients that your organization serves. So what youth or students does 100 Black Men in the Bay Area serve, and how do they get selected or sign up to participate? And then how many youth locally?
All right. So I'm going to go with the first thing to talk about what you just talked about. And this is my old phrase. It's kind of hard to get ahead when you're always looking over your shoulder. So I've never had to really look over my shoulder. So I've always been able to do everything I wanted to do. And so we pick individuals like Josiah, mostly probably 95%, 99% that are African-American. We focus on young boys, but we also bring young ladies in also. And Josiah might be a little bashful, but he was raised by a single parent, but his dad is in his life. So he has some advantages. He has raised by his mother and his grandmother, but his dad's in his life. But he actually, we take young men like him and just give him a chance. And they're usually in the inner city schools where people forget the dropout rate in the schools that we represent is probably used to be 25% or higher for our Black boys. And that's a lot. 3 out of 10 are going to drop out of school. And when you're dropping out of school, your opportunities become less. In our program right now, we have 3 tiers. So the first tier that we kind of work with on a regular basis, there's about 350 young Black boys, 350 young Black boys at 3 high schools, 4 middle schools, and those who we work with on a pretty regular basis before and during COVID. We do home visits. We talk to their parents. We kind of push them, and our objective was to kind of keep them safe. Then we have another group that we kind of work with that are a little bit more advanced, live in certain other neighborhoods where we kind of help them with college education, scholarships. And then we have another group that apply for these scholarships to kind of go into other opportunities. So in essence, we usually have about maybe between 300 to 650 young men and then maybe 50 or 60 young ladies that kind of we work with scholarships. So we have a pretty vast variety, but they're all in different tiers. Like everybody is not Josiah. Everybody's not Ricky. So we have some kids that Josiah and I saw a video the other day that was very disturbing. That some of our young men were doing this. They did graduate from high school, but they didn't really achieve the things they wanted to achieve because of their family structure and some other things. And so they did a very disturbing video that we're going to talk to them about and say, hey, man, this is never going to get you where you want to go with that music video. I mean, it isn't. And so that's the purpose of the young men that we do in kind of the Bay Area, which is Oakland and all through the Bay Area. We work with them, but they're usually disadvantaged, lower income, free lunch. If the numbers I have, I didn't bring them with me, but I can pull them out at another time. They're the most disadvantaged individuals that are there. They're usually in school. They're usually potentially living with one parent or one family member, but they're definitely not individuals that you would think that you would call advantaged in any way.
I want to share a little quote that you guys have in your mission statement that we didn't share earlier. And so it says, what they see is what they'll be. And can you guys talk a little bit about the lead by example approach and why that is so important and how it applies to your youth?
So I'm going to start,
everybody in your organization.
I'm going to start, but I'm going to let Josiah finish. One of the things about my boy Ricky that he does is he kind of amplifies what he sees, and he calls me all the time and says, "Pops, tell me somebody who does investments, like a brokerage firm." And I'm like, I know somebody. So I give them the information. He calls them up. Now I see Ricky doing day trading. He says, tell me somebody that's doing that's in graduate school and just graduated. One of our players, Langston Walker, used to play in the NFL, graduated. Then actually after he graduated and retired, he actually went back to get his MBA. So Ricky can talk to him and he can see somebody who looks exactly like him that he can emulate and say, oh, and he has that relationship that he can call them or email them. They'll respond right back. I mean, imagine this, family, as we say. If you have somebody you can call and you can say, I need some help, and they respond back to you and they just give you a little direction, that is significant change within your society, within your neighborhood, within your family. So Josiah has access to men that are lawyers, that are scientists, that are doctors. We met somebody the other day on our call. He's doing $46 million a year in his business. So Josiah, when I was growing up, I barely knew somebody who was doing a couple $1,000s in their business. This man that I could text him and anytime he was respond right back to me, he's a friend of mine. He's doing 40 million in his business. I mean, how many people can say that? So Josiah, touch a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I think that is the most impactful thing ever. When you're growing up in poverty, growing up in low income neighborhoods, specifically what our Black boys go through, at least in the Bay, you don't see a lot. You don't see a lot of positive stuff. You don't see a lot of people make it out. And every once in a while, you'll see a young guy get a scholarship to go play sports, right, at a big university, and that's probably one of the biggest things you'll see. But to be able to see men and have direct access to them, who have been through struggle, who came just from where we are or were, and are being successful, like he brought up the millionaire, making millions of dollars, like to a young person's mind, that's like insane, right? To be able to make millions of dollars, knowing that that's where we want to be one day. And so what you'll see is what you'll be is so powerful, because exposure and representation is what's wrong with our community. Our boys aren't exposed enough. And I think 100 Black Men and even other programs that I'm involved in, OK program, Kingmakers of Oakland, it's more down the list. Teaming, we're all trying to expose our children, because if they have never seen anything, they've never really done anything, they don't really know what's out there. Like when I was able to go into the Golden State Warriors facility, I've been there a couple of times, right? To be able to go into their practice facility, I walked in the locker room, sat in Steph Curry's chair. like, this is like crazy, right? You like, what? Like, I'm sitting in Steph Curry's chair. This is where he comes and sit. And to be able to be in a facility of like, these are world champions, right? That inspires you so much because maybe I can come here and I can be the GM of this organization. I can coach this team, maybe even possibly own it one day, right? And so when I'm exposed, when I start to begin to see things that are successful, let's just be honest, like these are successful things, it inspires you to want to do better. You don't want to stay in poverty. You don't want to stay where you are. You want to be able to say, you know what, I want to get my family out of here. And exposure, I just think that's.
Who did you meet when we went to the one event when Steph Curry and Barack came? Like, who did you meet? Not Steph Curry, not Barack Obama. Who did you meet kind of in the stands when we were walking through?
Man, in the stands, Sabrina Fulton, which is Trayvon Martin's mother. That was so inspirational. We had a conversation, and she was so somber and so sweet. She had just spoke, so she was kind of, just getting her thoughts together. But, I was like, I'm so honored to be in your presence. Can I just get a picture? And I got a picture with her, and that was just so amazing. Barbara Lee, Nikki Shaw, the celebrity chef, so many others that were just literally just walking around the venue.
The owner of the Kings. Remember the owner of the Kings kind of came down and sat with us and talked to us. We were like,
Sacramento Kings.
Blada Dive. It was like, wow, like you own the Sacramento Kings. And you're like right in our presence. So
like
you don't get those opportunities.
Billionaire, like crazy.
I think it's really interesting because obviously the saying, you are the sum of the 5 people who you surround yourself with. But there are so many people that even I've kind of had the opportunity to like meet in passing or, like now have access to. And it's like, even just having those phone numbers in my phone or knowing how to connect with them on Instagram or knowing that like I would have like somebody who can like Daryl, like piece me together and get them, it elevates your sense of kind of just like self-appreciation and almost self-worth and thinking like you want to level up and be there. And I think like it's such a priceless thing to see someone else succeed and then to see how like to see the path that someone has walked and that they are like literally reaching their hand down and pulling you along. It's so amazing and inspiring. And even just being around people like that is like, it gives me goosebumps even thinking about it because it's changed my life so much and it's exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's do this then. Just Josiah, because you're on a roll here, so we're going to keep going. So tell us a little bit, how did you get involved with 100 Black Men and just a little bit about your history and where you were at when you got hooked up. And then I know you were big in the mentoring piece, but just you can kind of tell us your 100 Black Men of the Bay Area story a little bit.
For sure. It actually hasn't been long. I recently just got connected with 100 Black Men about 3 years ago. I've done, like I mentioned, several programs, African American Male Achievement, Higher Ground, there's a Hidden Genius Project. There's been a lot of programs that I've been blessed to go through, and the 100 Black Men has just kind of been recent, but has been something that has kept me. So about 3 years ago, I met a couple of men in the 100, but specifically sparked a relationship with Daryl Richardson, which has been amazing. It's been a mentor. We're always on the phone, always at events, going out to eat, whatever it is. And he's been instrumental in kind of shaping who I am right now. But really, programs like these are amazing. And I say that because a quick story, when I was in elementary, about second grade, I was the student that got, and a lot of people don't believe this now because of the character that I am today. But in second grade, I was the kid that got sent out of class. I was the kid that was getting suspended and phone calls home. For whatever reason, I had behavior issues. My after-school program, Higher Ground, who is still around actually, they provided me an opportunity to be like a coordinator for the day. And it basically put myself in an adult's position where I get to run the whole after-school program for one day. I got to plan the activities, the games. I pretty much got to tell students and adults what to do. And literally from that moment on, I realized that being a leader is what I wanted to do. I realized, like, you know what, this is kind of fun. Being in power, like being in leadership and being able to, make your own decisions. And, you look at all these business leaders, et cetera. Having that is like, that power is amazing. And so from that moment on, it's been programs in my life that have just continued to empower me. And to be able to meet people who are successful along the line has inspired me to continue to fight. And so, yeah.
Well, you forget, he does forget a lot of things, like maybe how your producer is right next to you helps you out. Like, I'm missing a lot of things, and Josiah, I call and say, hey, I need you over my house tonight at 8:00, and I need help with this. You know what he does? He comes. He doesn't complain. He takes care of business. So it's just not what we give for him is what he does for us. So he's helping me think things through from a youth perspective. So I don't always have to come up with, I'm the man and I make all the ideas. And he's like, well, you know what? For us young people, we think that's a stupid idea. And I have to listen. And so for me, when I need him to do something, whether he's helping me out with the 49ers podcast or program that we have, or any other program I have, he's there. So my commitment to him is as strong as his commitment to me and our organization. So it kind of works on, not every young man is willing to give me his time and his energy and his direction. And this young man is definitely willing to do that all the time. I very rarely did he ever say, hey, I can't do that for you. He's always come through. So that's what I love about him. And I'll do anything for him because he'll do anything for us. And that's the point. And that makes it, his mom has come over for dinner. We did graduation at my house in the backyard for him and some of his friends, even during COVID. So to me, we got to do those extra things that they may not get to show them that what life is like, maybe on my side, so he can give that to his kids, his grandkids, and his family to do the same thing. And I think it's because of him that makes it easier for me.
And I just want to say, dude, I appreciate you as always. And maybe I don't say it enough, but I thank you. So many opportunities I've been provided down the list. I mean, we brought up my brother's keeper with Barack Obama, to be able to see Barack Obama and Steph Curry in Oakland, right? Two legends, like in the same place that I'm from, for Barack Obama to come back. And, we know how much Oakland's talked about now and put down, but Oakland is brilliant. Oakland is amazing. And I just want to shout out everybody who's coming out of Oakland, breaking barriers, breaking stereotypes, but provided so many opportunities. Like, I spoke at the annual scholarship gala last year in San Francisco. It was like almost 2,000 people. And Daryl and the guys selected me to speak on behalf of the youth. And I was one of the most nervous times of my life, but it was amazing to be able to speak in front of a huge crowd and to convey a point that mentoring is the key right now. To be able to travel to Las Vegas, Nevada, to the leadership, the National 100 Black Men Leadership Conference, which is annual, supposed to be in Atlanta this year. But to be able to go there and to connect with other young men, I literally have like long-lasting connections now from young Black men who live in Dallas. I have some connections with guys that live in New York City. And we met there at the leadership conference, and, it's a brotherhood. And I think that's what it's all about: building connection, networking, and the whole nine. So, yeah.
Okay. And so thank you for all of that. And I think you're right. Networking and kind of the focus on education, having somebody in your life that can kind of just, hey, you might be stepping a little off course there or whatever. So, and the mutuality of you guys' relationship is really cool. So kudos for all that. And it sounds like what you were talking about there is part of the student liaison position you're working at with mentoring with 100 Black Men. So that piece. So I don't know if there's much more about that, but I do want to make sure we have time. So let's jump into this, because you're studying political science, right? With an aspiration of being a civil rights attorney. And we talked beforehand that I've done my share of that. All my work's been in criminal justice. So, which teeters on, because we end up doing, the Fourth and Fifth Amendment have been pretty powerful in my clients' lives, so things go wrong. So the civil rights aspect is really important. So I guess I want to know, why is this important to you? And then do you have some role models in there? So I saw in there that you were the recipient of the Frederick Douglass Leadership Award. And so I think we're all aware of who Mr. Douglass was, and obviously very inspirational man, given everything. And I would say it made me think back, and we talked about this a little bit. So Ruth Ginsburg just died off the Supreme Court, and just a trailblazer for everything that she was, all that she stood for in women's rights and that. And then I was telling you that when I was in law school, kind of my hero was Thurgood Marshall, in all the work that he did, 60s and 70s as a civil rights lawyer, advocating on behalf of those cases, and then eventually as a member of the Supreme Court. So why is being a civil rights lawyer important to you? And then I guess you can tie it in, because later you talked a little bit about wanting to break through and defeat some of the socioeconomic barriers that you feel still exist. So can you just give us a little bit about what your vision of that is and where you see your role going?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just try and compact it all together, but I do want to paint the picture. And a lot of people don't really know this side of my life, but in 2015, which was my seventh grade year, I was in middle school. My older cousin Richard Perkins was gunned down by Oakland Police Department. Shot and killed on the street. They shot him over 20 times on 90th and Bancroft. He was having a mental health breakdown. The police were wrapping up a scene there. It was like a sideshow, and they had blocked it off. And Richard was known to have these mental health breakdowns. And, they were giving commands. He didn't necessarily follow them. And they thought he was reaching for something, shot him over 20 times. They left him on the ground to die over 8 hours. They just covered his body, let him lay there for 8 hours. This story did not go national because there was no camera. And that yet alone sparks this thought in my mind, because we should think about all of the stories that we have not heard. We can sit here and name George Floyd. We can talk about Breonna Taylor. We can talk about Oscar Grant. We can talk about Tamir Rice, what happened in Cleveland. And all of these stories we know, but there are so many stories that we have not heard, right? And it's so cruel that this world we live in. And so my cousin was killed. Obviously the story, it made like KTVU's like maybe 2 or 3 times, but didn't go really national. The nearest thing was a gas station camera, but the police went and confiscated that, right? So we didn't have access to that. So all that to say, I'm 17 years old. I'm in 7th grade, 13 or 14 years old, and I'm traumatized because my family now is going through this situation which we didn't foresee. I actually was the guy that was really like, we need to do something about this. And I went to his mother, my auntie, and I'm like, we need a protest. I was the family member that planned protests. I was the family member that when the news came, they wanted to interview me. And I was the guy trying to put together gatherings. Let's fix this. Let's try and figure out a way. So all that to say is from that very moment, I made a vow to myself that something has to change. And in order for something to change, people like me with personal experiences, like I've been through this, right? And it's real because we see it on TV. You saw George Floyd and what his family had to go through, Breonna Taylor, what they're going through now, even through the judicial system. To be able to see that, but to be able to go through it is different. And so I feel like I have a personal vendetta, personal experience to be able to say I need to do this. And so that's kind of sparked my interest to be a civil rights lawyer. I feel like there's some stuff we need to change with law and policy within the system, and to be able to challenge this government who has continued to fail Black people, continued to fail African Americans and people of color in general. And so yeah, that's kind of my aspiration. You bring up Thurgood Marshall, who broke barriers, right? The first African American to be, nominated to the Supreme Court. Like, that's amazing. And Thurgood Marshall give me so many good vibes because he graduated from Howard Law School. I am actually looking to transfer to Howard in a couple of years, possibly attend Howard Law, who knows. But, to be able to walk in his shoes was amazing. He started his own private practice, which is something that I have aspirations to do. Eventually when I work my way up, graduate law school, I aspire to open up my own law practice and to be able to really make change for my community. So I definitely salute Thurgood Marshall. A civil rights lawyer that's really booming right now that really inspires me is Sean Lee Merritt. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Sean Lee Merritt, but he's a civil rights lawyer out of Dallas, Texas. His story is just amazing. I don't really have time to go through his whole story, but he's represented Ahmaud Arbery, Amber Geiger, Atiana Jefferson. He helped represent George Floyd in that case. And there's been so many cases that he stood up and represented. He's a black man just like me. And to be able to speak so elegantly and stand before, a system that's set up to fail you, that's challenging. So I really salute him for doing that. And so, yeah, I mean, it all comes full circle, just, to talk about why I kind of want to do this. It's deeper than anybody could ever imagine. It's really for my people. Our ancestors fought. And so, yeah, I know you wanted me to talk about some barriers. I mean, like I talked about, the education system is a huge barrier right now. That's kind of, I think that's almost putting a cage on our community. And we're continuing to try and change that, like the OK program is doing by trying to mend the relationship with police officers, Black police officers, and Black children. That's so key because, to be quite frank with you, Black folk in America, we just don't have a great relationship with police and law enforcement in this country. And to be able to mend that together is so amazing. Financial hardships, right? We talked about poverty earlier. Like, it's so much that, that's roots the judicial system, right? It's so hard because we may not have the funds to pay for, like you said, you're a criminal defense lawyer. We may not have funds, to pay for a criminal defense lawyer. What do they offer you? You have the right to an attorney if you don't have one. So they appoint to you a lawyer, right? And these public defenders, they work for the same system that you're trying to fight, right? And it just doesn't make any sense to me, right? So these public defenders, because they have so many cases and a huge workload, they don't have time to really fight for your case, right? All public defenders really care about, and I'm not trying to bash them, but they just want to offer you a plea deal. Let's try and figure out how to get out of this case as quick as possible. And I want to be able to change that, So it's deeper. I didn't mean to go on a rant, but yeah.
If we were back at our home studio, I have a sound system and there's like an applause button. And I was like, man, I wish I had my button right now because I'd be pressing it.
Well, let me just to plug, because my criminal defense work, I've always worked really close with a lot of public defenders. So there are some guys and women that are hardcore advocates and do really fight, but the volume of caseload is a huge issue. I mean, they average around 350 to 400 open cases at a time. A lot of them do, depending on the city and all that. And it's just, that part of the system is insane. So it's an appointment, but at times, with everything, you can't do it, in the way that people want to do it. So, well, you talked a little bit about ancestors a couple of times. So here's something that was in your bio, that you're described as embodying the spirit of our ancestors as a community activist and a social justice warrior. And then the quote that was at the end of your bio is, I am because we are because I am, and may the circle be unbroken. So maybe just talk a little bit about, what it means to be a social justice warrior within the context of your ancestry and what that quote means to you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, to start with the quote, that quote means everything. It's literally my life. And I kind of try and walk by that. I say that because through AMA, we kind of mentioned that, brought up that in my bio earlier, African American Male Achievement, which was a class that, there was a class through the program, Manhood Development, which was distributed throughout Oakland Unified School District schools, middle schools and high schools. So in middle school, I participated in this class called Manhood Development, where we actually fortunate enough to have a Black male teacher with an all Black Black male class. So there was just Black men and a Black male teacher, and we were able to kind of get mentored on life. And we were taught a separate curriculum from what, this educational system sends us. And, you look at the history books and it's all European centric, right? So this class, we actually learned about African history and our greatness and our ancestral, genius that as a legacy. And it travels through us. So I am because we are because I am, may the circle be unbroken. It's so key because it talks about community, right? I am because we are. right? You are because I am, right? And it works together because this world would not work if you didn't exist. This world would not work if I didn't exist. So I am because you are, and you are because I am. It works together, and that makes the world go around. I wish a lot of people would live and embody this, because we could take race out of the equation. Take race; it doesn't even have to do with race, right? It's just because you exist and the genius that you hold, because you exist, we exist, right? And that just is so powerful when you think about it. And you think about how if I didn't exist, right? If you didn't exist, how the world would not operate in a certain way. And so in that class, we literally stood up every day. We said that mantra, I am because we are because I am, may the circle be unbroken. That's ingrained in my head. And shout out to Sisway Andrews, who was our teacher, who embodied that spirit of ancestry. So, I mean, just talking about the genius, I feel like our ancestors, like I talked about earlier, they laid a pavement for us. You know, some of them died in this line of work. Blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, you know, trying to make sure that we have a brighter future. And I think we owe it to them. We owe it to them to be able to continue this fight. And, you know, it's all worth it at the end of the day. So.
All right. Well, thank you for hitting on that. And yeah, there's an outcome for us, but it's also about the process, right? That if we can come together, focus on our similarities, the things that we share, our common objectives about our common humanity and those kind of things, and then fighting for a world that gives people that equal access that you're talking about, and that all people can have the basic needs in society. I mean, that's a world that we can all kind of get our heads around. So let's talk a little bit about just kind of, so I want to tie back into the 100 Black Men. How can people help? And then we talked a little bit about some of the systemic stuff, and I don't know if you've got recommendations, either one of you, about what people can do about some of that. And I know obviously being a lawyer and getting after people is one way to do it. But specifically, how can people help 100 Black Men and what they're doing? And if there's any other message that you'd like to leave people with as far as we're thinking about some of these issues.
So we're always excited about people looking at simple ways of saying, hey, I'm going to donate to this cause. And what we do is, you know, the majority of our funds kind of go towards people like Josiah, or people that are trying to do things, or the homeless community, or individuals of need. So they're not going in the pockets of myself or any of our staff. Most of our staff are volunteers. They're going into to individuals of need. And so for us, it's always great to donate. I can think of some of the ones that have gotten our scholarships. One of my other kids, one of my first kids I started helping the program with Josiah's African-American male achievement with Lamar, and I went to teach his class. So I was like helping him out with his class, and that's how we started our mentoring program. And I saw the great work they were doing. I'm like, okay, I need to bring more men, and that's when I brought the 100 Black Men involved. So we've volunteered. There's always volunteer hours. There's things you could do for your community, or connecting a kid like maybe Josiah or Ricky or Joshua into an opportunity. So I reach out during the summer and during the school year, and I ask people, and I say, do you have any career opportunities, or do you have any internships? So I've been able to get those internships, and I connect them with some of our young men and women, and then they're able to kind of experience something in their field. So there's all these different ways that sometimes you got to step out of the box to kind of say, okay, I don't know what I can do, but maybe I can do something. And there's always, what we were talking about earlier, Josiah, it's good to do something. Like always saying what I'm going to do isn't good enough. I love this podcast you guys are doing. It was clean. It was easy to kind of go through, but it's doing something. And it's just not saying, hey, we're just going to talk. It's actually doing something. And there may be a connection that I get with you guys that I could use to further the advancements of what we're doing for more Josiahs. I want 1,000 Josiahs or 1,000 Rickies. I want 1,000 of them. It makes our lives so much easier. I got 2 daughters that need a husband at some point in their life. So I want them to be with somebody powerful like that's doing different things in the community. And so when you think about what people can do, this is funny. John Lynch, when they read our proposal, so I wrote the proposal that they put out for their RFP for the social justice grant. And I remember there was a comment when I talked to John, and he talked about, hey, I know I can't be a mentor because we try to just have African-American men be mentors to African-American boys. We're not trying to have a woman in that capacity because they're doing all the work anyway. We're not trying to have people outside of the race to do the work at this particular junction, because if Josiah doesn't see me that care, he might not be able to see you care. And so for us is we start with us, but then it branches out to other individuals. And this is where we came up with our Wisdom Tuesday. And John Lynch and I sat down and figured out what can we do. He's like, let's do something. So we came up with our Wisdom Tuesday that we go over each month, and we have different speakers and they get to talk about things that they're going through. And you could hear, it's an amazing thing. Like, our young men are on a call with the GM of the 49ers and some players of the 49ers, some player personnel. And they're like, wow, like, I never knew I could have that experience. Maybe I could do that. And from that, now the 49ers are talking about, hey, when COVID ends, we're going to try to do some more scholarships and we're going to try to do some internships to kind of get those things going. And then, Josiah, last week we met one of the few women scouts in the NFL. And guess what? She's a minority and she's with the 49ers. So then you have people on our call going like, damn, I can do something like that. That's the change of, they can be what they see because they see something change and like, I can do that too. And that's what we're trying to really do. So getting involved is kind of reaching out and saying, what can I do? And that's the power. Like, what can I do? We want to change something different.
And, I salute the 49ers because there's so much to say. I know Daryl brought up Black Lives Matter earlier. So many people want to be like, Black Lives Matter. And yes, they do. I do believe Black Lives Matter. And it's so quick, people are so quick to say that, but it's one thing to actually support Black Lives Matter. It's actually one thing to go out and, help raise funds, go out and help protest, whatever it is. And so the 49ers say, you know what, we're not just going to talk about, we're not just going to talk about it. We're going to be about it. And to donate to this program is just amazing because now with that money, we can use it and just flourish our next generation. And so getting out and how can you help? Like, reach out, donate, money does not grow on, money does grow on trees, but you can't go and just pick it whenever. But it really does take funds to run programs like these. And so, go on out and donate. If you have a business and maybe you're successful and you want to offer some internships, we got a lot of young people who need to work. I'm getting ready to try and pursue a law firm internship real soon, right? And so that's something that, I'm interested in. So, like I said, we are because I am. We can help each other. And it doesn't even have to be about race. Forget if you're not Black, right? We're all here. This is how the world is going to go around when we start breaking racial barriers. So.
Applause button again. So this may be a touchy subject, but are y'all 49ers or Raiders fans then?
This is funny because I'm going to let him
Tell
go
us.
first. Josiah, go ahead. Tell the truth.
So the truth of the matter is I am not a 49er fan. And I'm not going to sit up here and fail Raider Nation because Raider Nation knows I'm faithful to the soil, okay? I'm faithful to the soil. And Raider Nation is all I know my whole life. I don't care if they went to L.A. I don't care if they went to Vegas. The Raiders is my life. And the Raiders actually have done a lot. I've been in the facility, etc. But, I'm not a Niner fan.
That's cool. So with me, in college, my roommate played with Jerry Rice and Joe Montana. So I have an affinity for the Niners for years. But then one of my best friends played for the Raiders. So I don't wear that stupid hat with Raider and 49er, but I kind of represent both. And they are from my two towns. So they may not consider me a true fan. And I was so mad during the Super Bowl last year. I was in Reno at a big party, and they were just ripping me because I'm a 49er fan. But I stuck with them. I'm like, man, I'm going to go down with the ship. And it was pretty exciting. And so it is kind of nice that we could see some of the moves they make and some of the movement that they do. And we're able to kind of ask the GM or ask some of the player personnel kind of why'd they do that, or why'd you look at this person? So it's cool. And we can't hate. We wanted to ask you guys a question. When's your boy coming back?
It's an excellent question. Every time we talk to George, he's like, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. But doctors, a little different story. What do you think?
I will say this. I believe firmly that he will play this year.
Me
So, you know, I kind of believe the Niners are on a little bit of a roll. They got some people back, and I think they're going to be dangerous down the stretch. And if they can get a couple more people back, I think they could be there. So I think George will come back.
Wild card. I'm all in. We're going all the way again.
I just need that crazy dude to catch that pass and just knock people off and hit him in the head and move
So,
around.
you know, I don't think anybody knows it'll be week to week and all that, but probably after the next 2 games, I think it's viable to think about. But, you know, again, it's broken foot and all that kind of stuff. So, but I know he's working hard and he's doing a lot more than they thought he could be doing. And so he's on his way back as far as that goes. So I will say this then, Daryl, we're going to follow up. And then Josiah, you can send anything you want to Daryl. So we do have notes for the show that'll be available for people. We'll have a link to the 100 Black Men donation page and our volunteer page, whichever. And then Daryl, I'll talk to you afterwards. As you know, George does always a donation to the organization. And so we'll be doing that and encourage people to match that. So we'll be trying to support the work as well. And then anything you want in the notes, Instagram or other social media links, we'll put all that stuff together.
We actually have a team that can push some things out. And I thought, this is funny. This is something I want to do with Josiah around mentoring. So I might be picking your guys' brain in the future because we want to do our own mentoring podcast, How to Change the World. So I love what you guys are doing. This was very, very clean and organized and just sweet. And so I can see me and him doing the same thing and kind of change the world, you know, one call at a time, as we say.
And I think something that's really exciting that we've kind of seen through, thank you.
Get on the mic.
But something that we've been seeing through, and I say this every podcast, but our podcast is like you guys are kind of boots on the ground situation, right? So you're actually helping people, you're feeding people, you're doing that. But there are all these different levels of getting the word out and making sure that like a big part of what we do is raise awareness and we push your message out, but then we also recruit funds and we actually like raise money and do those things. And I think what I just want to say is there's so many different ways to get involved and there's so many different ways to support organizations. So like you were saying, money doesn't grow on trees. And obviously this is a very difficult time for everybody, but promoting things on social media and talking about it and asking people for help and even reaching out to businesses and organizations where you think there are opportunities for mentorships or internships or just work by any chance, that those things change people's lives. And telling somebody about, like, if you know somebody who needs to be a part of 100 Black Men, tell them about the organization, send them this podcast, send them Daryl's contact information or Josiah's, and let them get involved in a way that will show them how they can change their lives. Because if they don't know about it, they can't get the help. And the thing that I am just blown away that I keep seeing with this podcast is how many people are out there like trying to scream it from the rooftops, right? We're actually on a rooftop right now. We're trying to help. But like, but there are actually people out there who want to help and who are really dedicated and committing their lives to it. But we can't help them if they don't know about us. And so if there's anything that we can do, if you want me to set up your entire podcast for you, I will do it because we had a lot of people.
Don't say that because you know I will call Josiah.
I will. We had, dude, I'm here to pass it on because I had like 4 friends seriously help me do it. And I feel like I kind of figured some stuff out. So anything y'all need.
We did this thing with, I ask crazy questions and I do crazy requests. So I was at a conference and I saw Van Jones speak from CNN. I was like, man, I kind of like that guy. He seems pretty sharp. And so I invited him to come and speak at one of our events. And he showed up and he was like the headliner. And we raised a bunch of money because I just had a crazy idea. And he's like, all right, do it. I didn't have to pay him to fly in. He just showed up, did his 2-hour thing. Then after that, it's on my Facebook page. We all went out to dinner and did like a little private dinner. And he kind of talked about his work with the Obama administration and working with Hillary Clinton and all these other people. I was like, whoa, like we're having a conversation with him, like this guy that's on CNN that we just asked him a question. He's just a regular dude with 2 kids and a wife. And he's like, hey, I'm trying to do change also. So to me, you never think that something's not possible, because something's not possible when you don't ask or you don't go after it. And I don't think that way. People think I'm crazy, and I'm okay with that, because I think outside the box, and I think, what can we do more? Not, ooh, this is comfortable. Like, no. What can we do more for our family and our kids and beautiful people like you guys are doing amazing things? I want to thank you guys by the bottom of my heart of being patient with us and letting us kind of share our experience and our opportunity and the same thing. So definitely you guys are doing some big props. And if I can help you guys in any way, then I would do the same thing. So trust and believe we have this opportunity. I'm definitely, I'm down. I'm down.
Okay. Well, let me, so the answer is always no if you don't ask, right? And the worst thing they can do is say no, and you just never do know. And so we're big. The other side of our game, and when we talk with the players, is always about mental prep. And we're huge into that. We manifest, the energy that we put in and your mental picture. So Josiah, this is a lot about, and this is my take, as a 61-year-old white dude, right? But I think a lot of the trauma that's been inflicted within the Black community, by their situation, the trauma that's left over, there's a lot to deal with, you know what I mean? And that's why I think your representation about, we can be what we see is so true and so important with that. But that idea that, our reality, we can shape it by what we manifest within our minds. And so having affirmations, doing visualization, all that stuff's really important. And then just the final word, I guess, this week, right, was, I think, the 60th anniversary of Rosa Parks not getting up, and I just, shout out to her. And, that brings back Thurgood Marshall, and the whole gamut, and just the power, of one, woman deciding I've had enough. And so our devotional for, I'm part of the United Church of Christ, but anyway, the thing was, we are the people that we've been waiting for. There's no other Calvary coming. There's nobody else. And so if the world is not what you want it to be, then, take your little piece of the world and do what you can and take the little small steps that you can within the area that you're at. And so we celebrate Rosa Parks and thank her for not getting up. And we thank all the people that in line stood behind her and fought to make change and enforce the Equal Protection Clause, which finally took roots and has done so much for this country over the years. And so we'll remember that. And again, just encourage folks, do what you can for 100 Black men and do what you can in the world and wherever you are at. And again, we are the people that we're waiting for to get it done. So, gentlemen, thank you very, very much for being on the show. Appreciate it. Anything last?
No, thank
All right,
you so
Josiah,
much.
we wish you the very best. And let us know about the podcast. And we're super happy and would be really excited to do that. And if and when we ever get back out to Santa Clara for a game, we'll try to make it over and we'll visit Oakland. And, I've always, I will say this, a few years ago when George first got in, it was Halloween weekend when they played the last Raiders-Niners game, before the move.
Yeah.
And it was like a Halloween fest. It was crazy time. And I
I
even wore a
remember that.
mask. I even wore a mask to that. It was insane. And I love Raiders fans, right? It's always been one of my favorites. So I'm all in. I don't really dislike anybody. I just love the game and I love the league. And I love fans, and I just, I really appreciate it. So it's all good. There's a few teams I like a little more, but I don't really dislike anybody. So anyway, we're always cheering for John and the boys over there in Vegas. So we hope.
You know what? I appreciate that. And since you said that, tell George I said hello.
All right, I will tell him. All right, you guys take care. Many, many blessings. Sure. Wish you luck and blessings along the way. All right, you guys take care. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.
All right, thanks.
Hey, Josiah, what's up, man? Great job. I heard you're not a 49ers fan, and I'm not okay with it. So I'm going to try to find you, and I will break you. But hey, hope you're having a great day, man.
Excellent, Bubby. All right, let's roll it right into the Ask George question. So, Mom, this is our first time doing this together,
Us
you and
two
me.
together, yeah.
Mhm.
Claire and I.
It is.
Yes, you
I
have.
look great.
Okay, so first question is from Ron. He wants to know.
Hey, Ron, how you doing, man? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you for listening to Hidden Pearls podcast. You're incredible. Thank you. What's the question, sister?
Mom had to grab her glasses. Okay,
Oh, that's
here's your
awesome.
first question,
Yeah,
Jan.
now I'm better and better. Okay, George, when you are out of the league,
Hold on, you're talking to this.
when you are out of the league, is there any chance you would become a broadcaster or potentially even a coach? You're always a good laugh when mic'd up and can only imagine you calling the shots.
Wow. Great question. I don't know about broadcasting. Well, actually, the amount of money that people are making in that sounds really fun because it's more than what I make playing football. But a coach for sure. I honestly can't see myself not being involved in sports, especially football somehow. I mean, my dream is to be able to coach my kids through all their sports, like my parents did for me and Emma. I mean, I didn't have a different coach in any sport except for soccer until 8th grade. But I mean, it was like 7th and 8th grade. I finally had
And
a
that
real
was like
soccer
right
coach.
when Bruce convinced you to stop playing soccer because you were losing too much weight.
Yep, for football.
But I also want to say this, George. Lots of times you do a shout out to your dad for coaching you. Don't forget, I coached you in T-ball and Little League.
Mom, I said my parents coached me.
Oh, okay, I know, but that's
She also
true.
coached
Yeah.
you in football too, right?
Jan?
At
No, just
home.
kidding.
At home.
No, Jan would always have the apples and orange slices.
I
She
do.
did good at that.
And the water.
Okay,
She was
so
great at Capri Suns too.
next question is from Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. I hope it's not Andrew Topping, is it? Because that's one of my best friend. Is my best friend. All right, sorry, Andrew. I'm still excited to hear from you, though. I hope you're having a great day.
Okay. Most
Get
favorite
closer.
Halo map, game mode,
Ooh,
and why?
wow, well, dude, what a question. Let's ride. Let's see. I mean, my favorite game. Oh, yeah, sorry. My favorite game mode was Shoddy Snipers on Valhalla. And that was just so much fun. I would do 1v1 there. I would do 2v2s there, the full squads. That was always really, really fun for me. I love Valhalla, and the amount of hours I spent on that map was insane. Another favorite of mine, which is super low key, the Big Team Slayer at Sand Trap in Halo 3. It was part of the expansion pack, I'm pretty sure. But they had the chopper there, and I had not gonna lie, no humble brag, but I had a perfect game there on a chopper, which has the one thing of two wheels in the front, kind of like a motorcycle. I had 20 kills on that thing. Perfect game, 0 deaths. So humble brag. But Sand Trap was a low key favorite of mine as well. Great question. Send that dude something. He gets something.
Okay.
For that
Okay. Hey. Did we just hit our best question? Because you were gonna send somebody else another pair of gloves.
No, that's by far the best question. By far, guys, ask me questions. The things I might be interested in because
Andrew,
they don't have to be football related.
I can't guarantee the gloves yet because we're not to the end of the season, but you are definitely at the top of the list right now.
Yeah, you're winning.
Good job, buddy. Attaboy.
Send him
okay,
something
and last.
Anyways.
Okay, I will. Andrew, when you watch this,
email us your address.
Oh wait,
not me.
Yeah. Andrew, go ahead and reach out to me on Instagram because I got you. Okay, and then last question is obviously Claire has had. This is from Aldara.
Hi, Aldara.
I hope I'm saying that right.
Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to the Hidden Pearls podcast. Can't wait to listen to your question.
Okay, so obviously Claire has had a very large impact on your life.
Really?
Name a few things that Claire has inspired you romantically, spiritually, etc. And has that translated to the game at all?
Oh, wow. 2 things off the top of my head. Let's see. First one would be just her willingness to do anything for me, honestly. Like whether it was moving to California with me when I was a rookie, when I was training for the combine, she lived with my parents for like 4 months. Bless their hearts for allowing that. But like she's made a lot of sacrifices for me, and she will always do anything she can to make my life easier, which is absolutely insane. And I am so blessed and I'm so lucky for that. Like it's insane. So thank you, Claire. I love you to death for that. But my favorite thing that really translates to the game is how defensive she is of me. Like I'm telling you, if she's in the crowd and one person says something that's not flattering, like I could drop a wide open pass and someone would be like, dude, catch the ball, Kittle, you suck. She would think about fighting them, like no questions asked. And it's incredible. And she will defend me over anybody for forever. And that is, I love her so much for that, because like, I feel like I protect her 100%, but it's also really fun to know that I have her that has my back 24/7, 365. She's always there for me, and will probably rip someone's throat out if they try to cross me. She's got a bite. She has got a bite, and she's got some spice.
Clarita.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, that was a great question. And I want to say last thing, just to gas up Claire a little bit more. So Claire's a Gemini. If you guys know anything about Geminis, they can be a little, let's say, spicy. But one thing that Claire has taught all of us is that you don't have to go along with everything. Like, you can say no, and you don't have to always lay it all out there for everybody. So Claire has been really good about teaching us how to set healthy boundaries.
She's good at that, 100%. And for all those wondering, that is not the red room in my background at all. It's just some weird lighting. I can't explain it. I've noticed it. It looks
sunlight.
Ooh, it's
yeah.
pink.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
desert.
It's desert orange, I'm pretty sure. Like everything in Arizona is orange. It's kind of crazy.
I can't wait to be there.
It is beautiful though. Oh wow, mountains. My view is actually of the stadium. It's right across from me, which is pretty sick.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's great.
it is. Okay. It is cool. But hey, thank you so much for having me on. Mom, you are a blessing to have on the show. I love the fact that I get to talk to you. You
jumped in the water with whale sharks.
You
George. Did
so
you tell
proud
your
of
fans
you.
that? Oh, thank you.
I told everybody that.
I jumped in the water and swam with whale sharks. That was a really big
all
deal.
three of you did. So I'm so proud of you
they
guys.
Were like fish.
Thanks, Bubby.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm glad that
Wish you would have been here, and you and
that.
Claire. It was amazing.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, being said,
I love you guys,
Georgie.
I know.
Love you so much. Just want to give a big
soon.
thank you to all the Hidden Pearls podcast people and the fans. You can click off. It's okay, George.
Oh, see ya.
We love you. Bye. I love you, George.
Okay, so just to wrap it up, thank you guys so much for watching Hidden Pearls podcast. Mom, I love having you on. Look how cute you are. She's wearing her Santa Fe necklace. But big thank you to everyone who was on our show. So obviously, Fred, go vote for Fred and the rest of the 49ers. Show up, Niners. Like, let's get them into the Pro Bowl. Big thanks to GK, BK, JK. Claire wasn't on this episode, so we love you. And then to Daryl Richardson and Josiah Harris with 100 Black Men. That is an outstanding organization. It is based out of the Bay Area. This one is, but it is a national organization. So wherever you are, make sure that you reach out. You can reach out to us and I'll put you in contact with them. And then from there, sorry if it's super windy, you can find a chapter or an organization near you. So with that being said, please, you guys, if you like this, go ahead, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on our...
Oh, sorry. I talk with my hands.
She's like slapping my thigh.
It's going, go.
But if you like this, please go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. You can follow us and subscribe through Spotify also. And please leave a review because it helps us to get our numbers up, which means that we help reach more people, which means that we raise more funds and we do more things. So thank you guys so much. If you know anybody who needs help with this organization or anything that we do, please reach out to us or share this podcast, share this link. And with that being said, thank you so much. That is a wrap for episode 12, and we will see y'all next week. Go Niners!
Go Niners!